One of the ladies shared this in Prashanthi Nilayam a couple years ago. I think it was during a medical camp or during Ladies' Day, I forget what the occasion was. She was from overseas, and she mentioned that the devotees in their center were traveling for a medical camp, and they had to take a flight. So they had a lot of supplies, medical supplies, and they naturally had extra baggage. So again, just like my case, they were mentally prepared to pay for this baggage. But they were thinking, Swami, this is your work, hopefully you'll take care. When they went up to the counter, the weighing scale, the first person that was getting ready to check in her luggage, the scale didn't work. Next counter, doesn't work. The airport, every weighing scale doesn't work. All their bags flew for free.
Oh my goodness!
This was shared in Kulwant Hall a couple years ago, post Mahasamadhi, let me remind you. So when the intention is noble and pure, he makes it happen. If it's not tainted with any selfish motive, no agendas, personal agendas, he makes it happen. Now many of us, including me, we miss Swami's physical presence, right? Who in here can say, I can now feel the omnipresent side, this form is not important. We all crave for that Pad Namaskar, we all crave for him, wafting through us, passing us and us taking Pad Namaskar. And some are very eager about Prema Sai's arrival. I get asked this question. When is Prema Sai going to come? And I read in a book that Howard Moffat, he says, he asked Swami once, Swami, you came as the Shri Sai avatar, and then 8 years after his passing, he passed away in 1918, we celebrated the 100th Punyatithi this year on Vijayadashmi Day. So Howard Moffat, he tells Swami, 8 years after Shri Baba passed, you took birth in 1926. Where were you during those 8 years, Swami? He asked. And Swami said, where was I? I permeated the entire universe. Where has he gone to come back now? Right? I connect to a lot of Sant Kabir's songs. They're very deep in meaning, very philosophical. He can really go out there. But I connect to a lot of his music. Moko kahan dhoonde re bande. Moko kahan dhoonde re bande. Main to tere paas mein. Moko kahan dhoonde re bande. Here he says, where are you looking for me, O man? And in the Antras he says, you go to places of pilgrimage, you go to Kasi, you go to Kailash, you do vrats, you do tapas, but I'm right here beside you. And he says, I exist as your faith. That is where you can see me. Like most of you, I too was very shattered on Mahasamadhi Day when I received the news. It was Saturday night for all of us, right? When the news came. Auntie will tell you I'm a night owl, I stay up late in the night. But somehow that day, I went to bed by 8 o'clock. It's never happened. What happened is that day, one of our devotees in Atlanta had arranged a Chandi Homam in the Hindu temple of Atlanta, which is a good hour and a half away. And she did that, she arranged that for Swami to get better on that day. So I went to the mandir to help her out with the setup and all of that. So I was physically very tired, very drained from that, and I went to bed early. So my mother tries to reach me frantically from India, and she receives this news, and I'm out. I remember answering the phone and said, Amma, I'm very tired, I'm going back to sleep. I slept through the night. Look at even that little detail. He knows for the next week to 10 days I'm not going to get any sleep, I'm going to be very disturbed. That's the mother. Even that little detail, he's like, sleep, you can receive the news later. Nothing's going to change. Slept through the night, woke up to a phone call from a friend, not a Sai devotee. He saw the news and he called to express his condolences. He said, I'm very sorry. I said, sorry about what? I heard about Satya Sai Baba's passing, and then it hit me like a ton of bricks. The rest of the family is still sleeping. I go up to the puja room, take all the memorabilia, the handkerchiefs that Swami blessed, the saris that he gave, and I'm looking at that going, Swami, what now? What happens? My children had a Tamil class to go to. They had a test actually that day. my husband, in the meantime, he too realized what had happened, and he said, if you want to be home alone, I understand. I can take the kids. Life goes on. Being the practical man that he is, he said, life goes on. I can take the children to class if you want to stay home. For some reason, I didn't want to be alone. I didn't want to grieve alone. Sometimes people like to grieve alone. I was scared. I don't know what it was. I said, okay, the Tamil class is very close to the Shirdi Baba temple. Why don't you drop me at the temple and then you take them to class? So he said, let's drop the children in class and I'll come with you to the temple. He saw how I was breaking down and he wanted to be with me. My phone's ringing off the hook, cousins, friends, everybody in the community, we try and support each other. Poor thing, like my assistant, he was taking all my calls. Sorry, she can't talk now, and he was doing that. That morning, Sunday morning at the temple, there was nobody but the priest. And this priest remembered me because just the previous Thursday, I had gone and done an archana on Swami's name. I told Swami's Gotram Nachitram and did an archana for Swami there. So he remembered, he too knew what had happened. He just gave me my space and I was sitting up there. The way the setup in the Shirdi Baba temple in Atlanta is, you just have one murti of Shirdi Baba where you have the picture of Swami here, nothing else, no other distractions. And there's two pairs of padakas. There's one pair to the side, one to the side. I was sitting where Auntie Sulu was sitting. I'm sitting on the floor and I'm weeping. I'm sobbing uncontrollably. A few minutes pass and I guess I ran out of tears. If I close my eyes, I can imagine that. I hear Swami. I can feel Swami, I can smell Swami. And he says, he's talking like he's talking to a 6-year-old child. He says, why are you crying? I have not gone anywhere. I'm right here with you. And brothers and sisters, believe me, just as the tears were just flowing, buckets, it's like the faucet was turned off. Complete stop. If a fan is rotating, the blade, when you turn off the switch, it's slowly going to stop, right? This is a magical stop. No more tears. And on the way, I remember getting messages from the SSC coordinator. And he had said, Anu, you're scheduled to teach the group 1 class today. You're still on, right? My husband texted him back, no, she's in no shape to teach a class today. Life still goes on. The children, Ishramadi was coming up. This is very close to Anuradha Day, right? So children are practicing. I'm deeply involved in the program. My husband said she's in no shape to teach. But after this happened, where Swami gave me this, made me feel his presence, something flipped and I responded back and I said, I'm ready to teach the class. That's the power. When Swami gives that message, you just feel like suddenly you can take on anything in the world. And that afternoon I headed to the center. I tried to be as strong as I could, taught the class, and that day I decided, today we are not going to talk about honesty and sincerity. I'm going to tell you experiences. See, the children were very confused. Here they are, the parents are telling them Satya Sai Baba is omnipresent, omnipotent, and these children have seen Swami once or twice in their lifetime, if that. And the parents are giving all these bhajans, these lectures about Babas everywhere, see him in the picture, don't see it as a picture. And then the parents are sitting and crying, so it's confusing to the children. So I was sharing all these experiences and they are sitting in the class laughing, and everybody outside is going, what is wrong with these children? Why are they laughing? It's Mahasamadhi Day. But the point was to get the children to understand Swami is omnipresent. He's everywhere. He's with us all the time, everywhere. And I think I got that message across. But then I thought that night, Swami, in the grand scheme of things, I'm pretty insignificant. Okay? I'm no council member, Prashanti Council, center president, nothing. But it mattered to you that I don't feel that, and you gave me this experience. And today, if I open it up to the floor now, I'm sure all of you will have a story to share. How we let you cope with this. Some of you may have heard about this incident. It's documented in Satyam Shiv Sundaram again. It's about Minke the cat. How many of you know this story? My daughter loves this story. So what had happened is, this happened many, many years ago in the Northeast somewhere. There was this devotee who had a cat, a pet cat, and this cat had gotten in trouble, maybe knocked something over, and she went into a fit of rage and she beat this cat up black and blue. But at some point when she was going to abuse the cat even more, the picture of Swami on the wall just dropped with a thud, like angrily. She got scared and she let the cat go. A few days passed, she was in Prashanti Nilayam. Swami appeared in front of her, she took namaskar. Swami gave her vibhuti. He goes back to his bag, you know, the beautiful red bag. He grabs a few more packets and he said, "This is for Minke."
She drank milk that was on the stove.
Oh, she drank milk that was on the stove.
Milk.
Yes, it was meant for the
It was
people in
meant
the
for
home.
yes. For Naivedyam.
It was meant to be offered to Swami and she drank it.
Yes.
That's why she was punished. Okay, thanks for pointing that out, Auntie. Yes. Where is God and where is He not? Right? He's right here. We have to believe that. If we see that as a chair, it's only a chair. If we see that as a jhula and He's sitting there, He's there. We refer to Swami as Daya Sagara in our weekly bhajans. We just gloss over some of these words, don't we?
Yes.
Daya Sagara, Kripa Sagara, ocean of mercy, ocean of compassion. Once Professor Sampath, he was a vice chancellor at the time that I was a Sai student. Professor Sampath once addressed Swami as Prema Sagara. He said, "Swami, you're an ocean of love." And Swami said, "Yes, the ocean is large, yet it has boundaries, doesn't it? You can reach from one shore to another." He said, "My love for you has no boundaries." This has been a one-way conversation. I'd like to lead a bhajan now, if you'd follow along and sing.
Yes, yes.
Let's sing Daya Sagara,
Yes.
Karunakara. You know, the beautiful story behind this is, this bhajan was composed by Jyotsna Dikshit ji.
Oh,
She's the
really?
daughter of
Yes.
Shri Pandurang Dikshit,
Yes.
who was a composer for Marathi movies and even some Hindi movies. So she wrote the lyrics for this song, and it seems she told Bhagwan directly. She said, "Swami, you are bigger than this ocean, Daya Sagara, you are more than that." Swami just nodded in agreement. So Swami did agree. Daya Sagara, Karunakara, and see. Please follow. Think about Swami, reflect on the meaning. We are calling him the ocean of love, mercy. Daya Sagara, Karunakara. Daya Sagara, Karunakara. Daya Sagara, Karunakara. Daya Sagara, Karunakara. Jagadishwara, Saishwara. Jagadishwara, Saishwara. Jagadishwara, Saishwara. Jagadishwara, Saishwara. Daya Sagara, Karunakara. Daya Sagara, Karunakara. Bhuvaneshwara, Akhileshwara. Bhuvaneshwara, Akhileshwara. Bhuvaneshwara, Akhileshwara. Bhuvaneshwara, Akhileshwara. Gunagambhira, Saishwara. Gunagambhira, Saishwara. Gunagambhira, Saishwara. Gunagambhira, Saishwara. Daya Sagara, Karunakara. YAs after the retreat, and one of the YAs was telling me how he can recite the Rudram by heart, and he knows a couple hundred bhajans. But he says, I cannot connect to it because I don't understand the meaning, word by word. And I was telling him, say you get sick and you have to take this strong antibiotic. You don't have to know the chemical composition of how much of what is in that for it to take effect, right? It's still going to work. So whether you understand the meaning or not, when you chant the Gayatri, when you sing these bhajans, they still have power. But that is not an excuse to not make an effort. Now we have so many tools available to us. We have the Brindamritam, which is even an app now. iPhone users, Android users. You can go look up word by word meaning. They have a glossary in the back. You can find out the meaning for every word. Okay, everything okay there? Okay. Yeah, so that shouldn't be an excuse for us to not understand the meaning of what we are singing. But even if you don't understand the meaning, this is a loving Lord. He's not going to judge us. He's still going to love us just the same. Now the stories from our Puranas and our epics, again we tend to gloss over them and we just narrate it to our kids like it's a story. But when Lord Narasimha, the Narasimha Avataram, when it appeared from the pillar, Prahalada said it with so much faith that the Lord, wherever he was, had to go inside the pillar and come out. With so much faith, when he called, the Lord came out. Same applies to Draupadi, when she called on Krishna. And she said, hey, Hriday Nivasi Krishna, and she puts her hands up. He sends her yards and yards of fabric. He appears from Mathura, arrives at Hastinapura to rescue her. All of these are stories to tell us about his omnipresence, right? Finding him, his ever-presence.
And one of the, pravachan person, I think it was Velukudi or somebody was saying that he was omnipresent, he was there because he didn't know which column that Prahalada was going to say that he's there.
He's there. But again, he's capable of being in every pillar.
In every pillar. But he was waiting. And
Yes.
what is he going to say? How is he going to appear? In what form?
He's going to appear.
It was like an instantaneous.
Yes. But can we have that faith of that 8-year-old boy, that 6-year-old boy? And when Hiranyakashipu, his father, everybody in that city is worshipping, golden idols of Hiranyakashipu. And he says, my Lord Hari. Do we have that faith to be able to say it? And this time and age with all the confusion, even in the organization, there's so much hesitation. Say it with pride. I'm a Satya Sai Baba devotee. No need to wipe your vibhuti when you step outside the house, when you're getting down to fill gas in the station. Say it with pride. Right? James Sinclair, I mentioned him briefly yesterday. In his home in the USA, he was calling out to God. He said, God, where are you? Swami appeared in flesh and blood in his home in America. If he can do that for him, he can do that for each of us. What happened to me at the temple that day, it can happen to any of us. All he's looking for is that sincerity, where we just become one with him. Rather, you might remember Ruchir Desai from the Vrindavan campus. He mentioned this once. He went through a bit of a dry spell with Swami, where he felt he wasn't getting much attention from Swami. Sometimes for the churning to happen, for us to go within and dig deep for answers, Swami appears to ignore us. We've all been through that stage. So he kept thinking, Swami, I am here only for you, and you're not giving me the time of day. What next? This goes on for a few days, and then one day Swami comes. Swami is very nonchalant. He says, Ruchir, what is the distance between your feet and my feet? And he says, about 3 feet, Swami. Oh. He said, maybe 2.5 feet, Swami. And Swami goes, but what is the distance between my feet and your feet? 3 feet, Swami, 2.5 feet. Swami doesn't explain. Some things he doesn't have to explain. The distance between you and me is the same distance between me and you, right? We sing in our bhajan, we are never away from the avatar eyes.
Yes.
We are only as far
As
the space from our hearts. Do we think about that? Do we reflect on it? Sister Yamini sings it beautifully. She sang it at the Atlanta Center a few times. And the bhajan just connects to you, right? But what is important is sing it with that feeling. When we are practicing, it shouldn't be all about raga and tala. Raga and tala are important. See, as humans, as a devotional coordinator, he can only judge. Judge maybe is not the right word. For a quality assurance purpose, all they can go by is a raga and tala. What is your bhava? Who can explain that? Who but God can tell us we're singing with bhavam? So to go around telling, I'm singing with bhavam, let me sing, that's not fair. If it's all bhavam that matter to you, sing in your prayer hall, in your puja room. But it's not fair to disturb the ambience, and everybody's trying to connect to Swami. So the bhava will come, if we understand that, right? This is a very touching story. It's from a sister who lives in California, much senior to me. I don't want to mention her name. She's shared this in a few satsangs herself. So when she was studying in Anantapur, her mother was in a fire accident. She had 3rd-degree burns, and she eventually succumbed to the injuries. So when she was in darshan, when the daughter was in darshan, Swami came in front of her, and she was crying. She said, Swami, you could have saved her life. Swami, I lost my mother. And Swami told her, life dene se bhi prayojan nahi. The burns, it was so terrible that by letting her live, I wouldn't have done her any favors. She was suffering. Then Swami said, Ek ma gaya to kya? 1,000 mata hai. Yesterday, I don't see her now. One of the sisters was saying, yesterday she was all decked up, and she was saying, no, this is my mother. I don't have a mother and father anymore. Swami is my mother. He's everything for me. Swami does not like the word anath. When we say, Swami, she mentioned, I don't have anybody. That's why I remember that. She said, I'm an anath. I don't have a mother and father. Swami does not like it. He says, you cannot say anatha. The only person without a natha is me.
Yes.
Natha is leader. Anatha, one without a leader. I'm the only one. God is the only one without a leader. How can you say you're anatha? Swami would say. So to this girl, Swami said, Ek ma gaya to kya? 1,000 mata hai. And he said, I will always be with you. Yes.
Can you translate that in English?
Sorry. So what if you lost a mother? You have the love of 1,000 mothers from me. Ek ma gaya to kya? 1,000 mata hai. Swami said. And he blessed her. He said, I'll always be with you, guiding you. Years passed. She moved to America. She had 1 child. When she was expecting her 2nd child, she had extended labor, 20, 30 hours. She was in there suffering. And when there was nobody in the delivery room with her, she got a little cynical. And we've all been there. I've been there. I'm guilty of this myself. And she's telling Swami, you said you have the love of 1,000 mothers. Here I am suffering. Not only did you take my mother away from me, you're not showing me any love. No sooner did she think this way, Swami appeared in flesh and blood in the delivery room, and right by his side, her mother appeared. And within moments, she delivered a healthy baby girl. So what if you lose one mother, you have 1,000 mothers? Swami referred to his mother not as Amma. Telugu speaking people, you might be able to translate this better. He would call her Grihamamai. As a lady of the house is how he addressed her, not as Amma. His own mother, he addressed her as a lady of the house. That's Swami. No, he's detached, yet he's so attached to all of us, right? Brother, if you can give me F, maybe. This is a song in Kannada. It's a kriti by Purandaradasar. I know, Auntie, you speak Kannada, you understand Kannada.
I don't speak Kannada.
Okay. Any Kannada speakers in this audience?
Yeah.
Maybe I can skip this. Okay, it's beautiful meaning. Purandaradasa in this, he says, Ninnanta Swami Yanaguntu Ninagilla Ninnanta Swami Yanaguntu Ninagilla Ninnanta Dorayu Yanagultu Ninagilla Ninnanta Dorayu Yanagultu Ninagilla Ninnanta Tandayu Yanaguntu Ninagilla விலகுமி என்ன தாய் நின்ன தாய தோரோ புரந்தர விட்டலா पुरंदर विठला I'm sure even Telugu speakers you would have been able to understand. He says, who will have a Lord like you, a mother like you, a father like you? I have such a mother in you, a father in you. Who do you have, Lord? He asks with so much love and fondness for Vithala. He says, who do you have? Who can you go to? Whenever he doesn't answer or respond to our desires and we say, what kind of a God are you? He's sitting there thinking, are you not going to realize that this too is for your own good? You know, life with Swami, we cannot assume just because we have Sai with us, life will be fine and dandy, a bed of roses. We go through life just like anybody else, like your next door neighbor. But knowing that the Lord is with us in this birth, and we have come to His fold and He's watching over us, that should give us strength. No, we cannot give up and say, why me, why me? We shouldn't go into the self-pity and self-blame game. We have to feel, if anything you should feel, I have the Lord with me, I'd rather get it all over with in this birth. Whatever prarabdha karma I have, let me burn it in this birth when I have the Lord. If we think that way, we'll get through it so quickly. Okay, after that, I think now it's time for me to share my journey, how my family came to Swami. I promised yesterday. Auntie, will you give me a 2-3 minute heads up before break?
Yeah.
So,
Sure, lots of time.
Okay, so how did Swami enter my family? Yesterday, Auntie mentioned we have 55 years, we go back 55 years. I'm definitely not 55 years old. My mother was the first in the family to come to Swami. It was in the year 1963. She was working in the Madras Port Trust. And it was a Saturday afternoon, around 3-4 p.m. One of her colleagues, she fondly remembers her name, Indra. I said, you have to be thankful for the person that brought you to Swami.
Yes.
All of us, somebody brought us to Swami. If you're lucky like me, your parents brought you to Swami. For somebody, it might be a Balvika's guru that planted that seed. It might be a neighbor, or you were just walking by and you saw the sign. But somebody led us to Swami, right? You have to be grateful to them and not forget them. So this Indra auntie, she told my mother, I'm going for Sai bhajans, do you want to come with me? I said, what are Sai bhajans? There's a guru, his name is Satya Sai Baba. He's visiting, he lives in Andhra. He's visiting Chennai. I'm going to have his darshan, do you want to come? That wasn't a done thing in my mother's family. My grandfather is very conservative, orthodox. He's from the Tamil Brahmin Iyer community. And he was a follower of Shankaracharya, Paramacharya, Mahaperiva, we used to call him. And Mahaperiva always warned against anybody who performs miracles. He says, stay away from them. Ramakrishna Mat, all of them, they say, stay away from anyone who materializes things. So, but my mother, it wasn't curiosity. For whatever reason, she said, yes, I'll come. But now she says, typically that's not how I would have reacted. I would have gone home, asked my mother for permission. This was the day before they even had a landline in the home. This was a very simple, humble, lower middle class family. My grandfather was working in Southern Railways. He had 8 mouths to feed, 6 children and a wife. And he was earning like 100 rupees or something, barely, making ends meet. They lived in a 2-bedroom small apartment in Washermanpet. My mother decided to accompany him. You're from that area, uncle?
North Madras.
Yes.
North Madras, yes.
North
Yes.
Madras.
My mother has fond memories of that house. Isn't it funny that your smallest home you have the fondest memories of? And the same applies to Prashanti in the 80s when it was Sands or the Bhatamathram days. No comforts, no hot water for bath, no escalator, no lift to take you up to your rooms. The best darshans. The comforts increased and it seemed like Swami moved further away. So coming back to this story, they lived in this very humble abode and they didn't have a telephone line, so my mother couldn't call her parents. She just decided to accompany this lady. They went to see Swami in Micah House, Perambur. Swami had come there. And she saw Swami and that's it. First look and
Done.
Yes, smitten. She's conquered. She's accepted him as her guru and God. Now she gets back home. It's past 6 p.m. It's dark. Given that it's a conservative family, my grandparents are prancing. Kuti pota puna, they say, right? Back and forth in the porch. Where were you, Jaya? Why did you come back so late? And my mother started crying. She said, it's not like I went to some party, I went to Satya Sai Baba. When she said Satya Sai Baba, alarm bells went off for my grandfather. See, it was a very, very simple family, very traditional. They wouldn't even read books like Kumudam or Ananda Vigadan, all of these magazines with Kolam, all of those magazines. They didn't even have that in the home. So when she said Baba, immediately in their head they went, some Muslim fakir somewhere, what is going on? So panic struck, like, no, so what is this? No, you have to come see him. There's bhajans and he gives darshan. There's something magnetic about him. She got a earful from my grandfather, but also my mother was the ladli in the family,
Pet.
If you think I'm enthusiastic, I'm not 1/10 as enthusiastic as my mom. Auntie Sula will vouch for that. So I got the energy and love for Swami from her. I thank her for that always. So because she was sad, she was crying, my grandfather said, oh, you papam Jaya Jaya, don't cry. Tomorrow, the whole family will go and see Swami. So they decided, the entire family went to see Swami in Abbotsbury the following day. And my mother's eldest sister, she's physically handicapped. She got polio at the age of 6. So she used to wear these heavy boots in those days, the boots that go up to your inner thighs, iron boots. And she need help. 2 people would have to hold her and take her there. So the whole family goes there for Swami's darshan. Now the story is, my aunt had been trying to get a job. And being physically handicapped in those days, it was a challenge. And she would apply to different schools as a Hindi teacher and she would get rejected left, right and center. In fact, my mother says, even for interviews that she didn't attend, they would say you're rejected because you tripped during the interview or you're not, it was just so unfair to people in those days. So my mother was nudging my Perima and she said, if Swami comes near you, they say, he can cure people. She didn't know anything about Swami, 1 day old. So they say he can cure people. Ask him about your leg. Maybe he'll do something. She says, okay, and rightly so. Those days it was just a few hundred people. Swami came where my Perima was sitting. And she had to leave her shoes. She can't sit for darshan with her shoes, right? She takes out her shoes, somebody makes her sit. A few hours later, Swami comes out for darshan. He comes to my aunt, eldest aunt, and he tells her to take Pad Namaskar. And she says, Baba, she's trying to say, she hasn't even gone past Sai Ram, Swami or Baba. He says, tell Sule, nee shoes akkada petti ikkada vachi kurchunnao. He says, I know you left your shoes there and you're sitting here. And Swami touched her head and he said, Swami neeto eppudu untanle. He touched her head and he said, I'll always be with you. So later when they talked, they figured maybe Swami was trying to say, this is your karma. When he said, I know you left your shoes here, in a cryptic way, the avatar never comes and tells you, spells it out in ABC. Step 1, step 2, step 3, now do this. It's cryptic. You have to go within, internalize this message, only then you'll understand. Sometimes it takes years, decades to understand. But they took it that it is part of her karma and she has to go through it in this birth. So the aunt that everybody thought would be a burden on her parents, the following Thursday, she got an interview card, she got an appointment order for a job that she hadn't even interviewed for, in a government school within 2 miles from home. Wow. So they believe it was Swami's grace. When he said, he kept his word. And it was with her pension that my grandparents lived in their final years. So who they thought was a burden, she ended up looking after her parents. That's Swami's love. And he says, Eppudu untan, when I'll always be with you, he keeps his word. Once he holds your hand, he doesn't let go. And we are at this time, the crossroads in this organization, where many are drifting. Even well-intentioned senior devotees, just because A said so, B said so. Even when we let him go, he doesn't let go of us. Even those people will eventually have to come back to him. You have to come back to the source, right? I mentioned that my grandfather was a follower of Paramacharya. He's a guru, like a mutt. It's an ordained, you go and get initiated. He was part of this mutt, Shankaracharya. He was following Mahapariva. So when the family went and had darshan next day, somehow almost everybody seemed to like it, but their time had to come. Swami had to make that one-on-one connection with each person, and he did that. And this is how he did it with my grandfather. Typically in a typical South Indian altar, you'll have pictures of all the gods. You'll have Shivuru here, you'll have Rama, Krishna. He had a picture of Shankaracharya, Mahapariva. They were sitting in the hall and my grandfather was mentioning to my mother, all that is fine. there is something about the Satya Sai Baba, but Shankaracharya has been our guru. You know, he was trying to reconcile his devotion for this guru, and all of a sudden he was trying to reconcile. You know, how do I, make my peace with that? No sooner did he finish making that statement, from Shankaracharya's picture, Vibhuti starts falling. No sooner. It was a dynamic altar, like with the lingam yesterday, auntie. He responds right away. He doesn't wait, process your question and answer. The answer comes pat like that. He said, "Oh Swami, I'm not testing you. I believe you, Swami. You are the same. You're one and the same." This reminds me of a story that Professor Kasturi shares in Loving God. If you haven't read that book, please do. It's a beautiful book. You can read it again and again and again. I take it with me on every flight. Beautiful book. In the book he shares, he went through something similar, but with Ramakrishna mission. He was a follower of, that school of thought. He said, how am I going to reconcile my, faith and love for both of these gurus? Is it allowed? Is it okay? Swami goes to his wife, or his mother, and he says, "Papam." He's confused. He's thinking, he's feeling guilty that he's here and then Ramakrishna. He doesn't know that it's Ramakrishna who sent him to me. There are many gurus that visit abroad these days. Many orange-ochred sannyasinis and monks, and they give lectures and bhajans. They conduct, rituals and yajnas. But these people are still, for me, they are still the middleman. They're going to take you to Swami eventually. Why would you go through a middleman, even for a business dealing, brothers and sisters? If you want to buy a house, if the person is ready to sell it, sale by owner, no commission. I'm going to give it to you for this rate. Would you rather go through a middleman and pay the commission? Would you go directly to the source? Why go to all these gurus, get confused? Why dig in 100 places and not find water? You have found Swami. Dig deep, you will get water eventually. Right? That's how I take this. My grandmother, a very simple, devout, sincere, pious lady. Typical lady from that generation. All she knew was her puja part, husband, taking care of his needs, and the children. And she had 5 daughters and a son, one being physically handicapped. All she knew was her pujas, and one morning at the altar, like I mentioned, it was a very small home, and they had a very small area for puja. They couldn't dedicate much space. But there was a picture of Rajeshwari Amman. It's a form of a goddess. And she was saying, the kumkum was falling from that picture. Kumkum is the red powder, vermilion, was falling from this picture. And she was making a very casual, by then they had gotten used to things appearing from pictures. It was nothing special for them at this point. Amrit would appear, Vibhuti, Kalkand, sugar candy, it would just drop, honey, it would just drop. But I'm fortunate that nobody made a big deal out of it. Swami says Chamatkar is the first stage. Chamatkar, Sanskar, Paropakar, Sakshatkar. He says Chamatkar is the miracle stage. I do that to attract you to me. I cure a cancer, or I find the suitcase for you. I attract you that way. Now that the hook is there and I've attracted you, I teach you Sanskar, how to lead your life with my teachings. Then I show you Paropakar, do selfless seva. And eventually you'll get Sakshatkar, which is merging self-realization. But many of us, sadly, even many senior devotees, we get stuck at the Chamatkar stage. Oh, Vibhuti fell in their house, let's go to bhajans. We should move past that, go to his message. So this Rajarajeshwari Amman picture, the goddess picture, kumkum is falling. And my grandmother makes a comment. If you look at this, the cushion here, it's a bright red color, right? So the kumkum was in that bright red color. Now in South India, the traditional kumkum is a little bit of a brown mix. They call it manjal kalanda kumkum. The color is arak. It's a bright, it's a maroon. Yes. It's like the roses. It's like the roses on Swami's feet. It's a maroon color. There's a difference between bright red and maroon color, right? So she was commenting, she said, "What is this color? It's falling like red." She said, "It's like rangoli powder. Color podi mari varudhu. What is this?" She's a very simple woman, that's all she could say, right? No sooner did she finish making that comment. I want you to picture this in your mind's eye. I wish I had seen this. Kumkum is falling in red color. Suddenly the color changes and it's now falling in this brown color. Look at that. Even as I'm sharing this, I've even seen it, I'm getting bumps. I've shared this story a trillion times. Still, it is so precious, so beautiful. Oh, this kumkum I can distribute to all the Sumagiris. Now my grandmother, she would do go puja, worship the mother cow. Swami says, all of us, we owe our gratitude to 5 mothers, not 1. Your Deha Mata is the first, the one, the mother who gave birth to you. Bhu Mata, which is Mother Earth, which is why we are going green now. He says Go Mata, the mother cow. The cow is producing the milk for its calf, but can we think of a life? How many of us can live without coffee? Right? It's providing milk, it's sustaining all of us. Desha Mata, the motherland, Swami says. So I missed one. Deha Mata, Desha Mata, Go Mata, Veda Mata. The fifth is Veda Mata, Mother Vedas, our scriptures. If it's the Bible, if you're a Hindu, follow the Bhagavad Gita. If you're a Christian, follow the Bible. Whatever, your Swami says, you don't have to change your faith. Whatever it is, follow that properly. Right? So she was doing Go Puja. Let me come back to that story. So there was this one cow, the mother cow, a female cow. Whenever they have bhajans at home on a Friday evening, around Aarti time, this cow would appear at the mittam. They would call it porch at the entrance. The cow would climb up. A cow would climb up 2 steps to come to the porch, and it would wait for my grandmother to come, offer nevedya, offer aarati, put kumkum, and take blessings, take a banana and leave. It happened for many years every Friday. Even that cow wanted that vibration, it would come there. When I'm seeing this beautiful Shirdi Baba statue here, yesterday as I was looking at that picture, I remembered this incident and I made a note. In the family altar, they had a small Shirdi Baba statue about this big, 1.5 feet or so. They also had a chair, a wooden chair in the altar for Swami, and they would keep this chair on they would keep the statue on this chair, imagining that Shirdi Baba is sitting there. Now, this chair started giving way after a few years, and it was a little rickety, and they didn't want the statue to fall and break. It's considered inauspicious. So they decided now, by then, a lot of people in the neighborhood got wind about the miracles. They would come just to see the vibhuti falling. So they decided, a lot of people are coming in and out. Let's make more room for the devotees to come and have darshan. So they decided to move the chair out and just have the statue. So the statue is on the floor, and my mother and my pinny, my aunt, are doing the laundry, and they're talking about today, after our morning bath, let's go and move that chair out. When they go and open they would keep the puja room door locked because they didn't want any kids from the neighborhood going and throwing vibhuti and saying, look, vibhuti came. It was a sacred space for them. It would be under lock and key. Bhajans they'll open, take aarti, and they would keep it closed. So when they're getting ready to go clean the altar that morning, they open the door. The statue that was on the floor is now sitting on this chair, covered with a mound of vibhuti, like Kailash. It's covered with a mound of vibhuti. They guessed that the statue is missing. They had to clear it out and find the statue. It was like Swami saying, this chair is not going anywhere. Rickety or not, I like this chair. And another story that comes to my mind as I look at that statue of Lord Jesus, and in fact it's beautiful, it's that particular statue. This was again in the 60s, and this was a time when even the Sarvadharma symbol hadn't come out. The Sarvadharma stupa in Prashantanilayam wasn't built. That concept wasn't there. Swami would say in his discourse, all religions are the same, they're all different paths to the same goal. But the whole concept of let's have a Sarvadharma bhajan wasn't even there. I doubt if there were any Allah Naam Bhajo type of bhajans in those days. Christmas was approaching, and my mother had this thought. She told my grandfather, Swami says all religions are one and the same. Now we have accepted Swami as our guru. Can we do bhajans on Christmas Day? It's a holiday, right? He said, that's the beautiful thing. Though he was traditional and orthodox, doing his Saligrama Puja at home, and doing his Sandhya Vandanam, 1008 Gayatris, all of that, all the Madhya Acharam, with a sincere heart, when his daughter asked, can we observe Christmas at home with bhajans, he didn't think about it twice. Sometimes we, as Sai devotees, sometimes this tends to happen. We judge other people. Oh, you don't come to center often. You're not as committed. You don't chant the Rudram. We should never do that. We should be open. We're all children of God. So my grandfather was like, sure, let's do that. He hopped on his trusted bicycle. He went to Paris Corner Town. He got a picture of Christ. And think of it, it's a bust-sized picture of Christ with the Sacred Heart. The heart is really big, the red heart. He brings that picture, they put that in the altar. They have bhajans on Christmas Day. When they're about to give Aarti, the picture is covered with vibhuti. Imagine your car covered with snow. And if you write with your finger on it, how it would look. It was like this. So the picture is covered with white vibhuti, and with a finger, somebody's drawn the cross and written the Tamil Om. not even the Sanskrit Om. So imagine, there's a cross and a Tamil Om. It's like Swami saying, Emmadamam Sammadam, all religions are one and the same for me. Because my grandfather was so open-minded, Swami was showing his presence that way in the house. It was a dynamic altar. They would talk and things would appear. Kalkanda, today somebody's, we are expecting guests, Kalkanda would fall. They would distribute it as prasadam. Honey would fall. For Shivratri one year, when they offered Aarti, they saw in the picture of Shiva, it was one of those pictures where the Ganges is just like flowing out. Right from where, picture it in your mind's eye, brothers and sisters, there's this shower of Ganges, except it's now a shower of Vibhuti. Three-dimensional, it's falling front, and it's not, can you imagine that, how beautiful that would have been? And shower of Vibhuti like that on Shivratri day, blessings directly from Shiva himself. And my mother and her sisters were very fortunate, there were 5 sisters and all. They were very fortunate that they learned how to make garlands, fresh flower garlands, out of tumme flowers. If you've seen them, they're very tiny, about the size of my pinky nail. It's pure white in color. Very auspicious for Shiva, Lord Shiva. And for Ganesha too. In fact, in Tamil we say, idli tumba pumari irukano. It should be white. Idlis should be white like these tumbe flowers. So they learned, there were these aunties, permanent resident aunties in Puttaparthi who would make these garlands for Swami, and Swami would wear them. So they went and they observed these aunties and they learned how to make it. But they didn't want to compete with them in Puttaparthi. So when Swami visits Chennai, let's make those garlands for him. And these are wild flowers. The plant is very short, it's like a foot or 2 feet tall, that's about it. And it would grow in all these wild spaces by the railroads. And in India in those days, you can imagine how filthy it would be. They would actually, not right by the railroad, but near that area. So they would actually cover their noses and pluck the flowers. It would take hours. Imagine a life-size garland for Swami with flowers that are about the size of your pinky nail. All the sisters, of course not my handicapped Perima, the sister's grandmother, all of them would go carry tukka, these stainless steel containers with a handle. Each one would carry one and they would pluck the flowers. These flowers are so sensitive to heat. If you just hold the flower in your finger, in a few seconds you can watch it turn brown. Even now my mother's sensitive. Sometimes from the altar, she helps with the flowers in Atlanta. She lives with me now for 2 years. She'll hand the flowers. She'll tell them, don't hold the petal, hold the stalk. Because it's so sensitive. It's that attention to detail that Swami used to appreciate and love. So they would collect these flowers that would take hours together. And the following morning, for darshan, they would have the garland ready. So plucking is several hours worth. Then that night they would sit and they would make the garlands for Swami. And Swami would wear them in the darshan ground. Swami would wear it, and sometimes, the kunjalam, the portion that is hanging, the bottom, he would take that and he would throw it to a lucky devotee. He would do that. One time, I remember my mother sharing this. While they were making the garlands, my grandmother was telling all the children to eat. Now my mother said, when we are doing Swami's work, we shouldn't be talking. Yesterday I remember when we were cutting the vegetables upstairs, we were trying to play Radio Sai and we were just trying to not be distracted. And I should say you're so fortunate, you have a space of your own. And your food, yesterday, none of it was catered. It was prepared lovingly by all the sisters here. They were singing bhajans and preparing that food.
Sisters and brothers.
Sisters and brothers. More sisters than brothers. But they were preparing it so lovingly. We were so fortunate, right? So when my grandmother was telling all the children, please eat, she would mix the annam and she would give it to each person. My mother said, no, I'll eat later, I'll eat later. All the other children had eaten. My mother didn't eat. And I think she skipped her dinner that night. Next day, Swami comes. Swami does not take the garland. Next morning, he doesn't take the garland. And they're all disappointed. And my mother thinks, did Swami not take the garland because I was disrespectful, I didn't listen to my mother? Not only did Swami not take the garland, he returned to Prashantanilaya. He left. She was heartbroken. That evening, they took the train, local train, and they went back home. On the way, they realized that my mother's youngest sister, my youngest Pinny, she had left her slippers this is Venkateswaran house. Sushila Magaru, some of you may know, in Alvarpet. She's related to Kuppam Vijaya Magaru. She's a stepsister. So Swami would stay there in Uncle Ishwar's house there. So they realized that she left her slippers there. Now, given that it's a lower middle class family, every slipper counts, right? They can't just run to Bata and buy a 99 rupee slipper. They're like, oh, what are we going to do? One of the friends that was traveling with them, worked in Southern Railways. He said, I have a free pass. Why don't I go back and bring her slippers? So it was agreed upon. Everybody went home and this uncle went back. Around 10 in the night, he saw Swami there in the house. He rushes back and tells them, Amma, Amma, I saw Swami. They said, no, you're just telling us this because we are feeling bad that Swami didn't take our garland. They said, no, Swami Uchcharamma, nen chusanu. They go out to a public booth and they call Sushilama Garu, Uchchara, and her daughter-in-law, Jalaja Garu, she answered the phone. Aunamma, yes, Swami has come, but please don't spread the word. Swami, it seems Swami asked, one night you'll give me chotistara, one night you'll give me place to stay in your house. It seems Swami came back that night, but they didn't want everyone. Swami had decided at dawn, at the crack of dawn, he would leave. And then they got excited again. The garland that Swami didn't accept, maybe there is still a chance. For whatever reason, when Sushilama Garu said, take the garland, Swami didn't accept it, you can take it to your home. For whatever reason, my mother felt like saying, no, Swami Pratyakshanga, he stayed in this house. Tomorrow morning, offer it to his picture. When Swami is there, many guests bring garlands. So now you have many garlands. Tomorrow morning, put a fresh garland for Swami. Luckily, it was still sitting in the fridge, it wasn't used. So their hopes came up. My grandmother's frying cashew nuts, deep frying cashew nuts for Swami, making Mysore Pak in that small, simple house. They bring it for Swami. There's no bus that early in the morning. First bus is at 4:30. They walk from Washermanpet to Alvarpet, uncle. Look at that distance. That's the love and devotion for Swami. My Peddamma stayed home. The rest of them walked to have Swami's darshan. See, it is tapas, right? For us, it's so convenient. We take luxury buses and go. I was at Tiruvannamalai earlier this year doing Girivalam. There are people doing Girivalam in auto.
Yes.
In car.
Yes.
Those days, people did tapas in one leg. A termite ant will grow over you. And now we do everything in comfort, in style. AC luxury bus. Sorry, which story was it? Yes, Tumapu Galan. So they walked and they come to have Swami's darshan. And it was very early in the morning, wee hours of the morning. My Amma and her sisters are putting rangoli at the entrance of the house. It was tradition. Swami's getting ready to leave. Let's, he should leave with nice rangoli, do some decoration. While they're doing the rangoli, one of the ladies from the house is calling. In Parthi, I don't know if you remember from the 80s and 90s, they all say, hey, you'll just have these sounds. Like that. Anantapur was famous for that. So she heard some sound. They looked and this auntie was saying, like motioning for somebody to come. So immediately they thought, okay, looks like they need some help with moving something or something. So my mother told her sisters, you keep doing the rangoli, let me go check what it is they want. She goes and this auntie is walking, she's just following her, she has no idea where she's going. She goes to the back entrance of the puja room. She's following her because nobody talks, it's very early in the morning, silence is golden, right, for Swami, nobody talks. She's entering the room and Swami is standing there. It's like Swami was waiting. Swami had sent for the sisters. He used to call them Tumbapula sisters. Swami would call them lovingly as Tumbapula sisters. Immediately my mother's going, Ayo, I left my sisters and came. Ayo, Swami. Swami calls her and he motions to one of the gentlemen, I think Raja Reddy Rai Nayangar, one of the senior members. And he says, he's motioning to the vessel, says, take out the garland. And Swami bends, and this uncle is garlanding Swami. All these years they've been making garlands for Swami. Some of the garlands were offered in private inside the house. And my mother would ask the aunties, was it right, life size for Swami? See, they're trying to imagine Swami is about 5 feet, Swami is about my height, this would be right. They don't actually put it on themselves, like Goda, like Andal did. So they're trying to imagine how it would be, right? Swami, always auntie would say, Koncham tagindamma, little bit short, little bit long. It didn't really touch his foot. Here if you see, it's touching the border of the frame, right?
Yes.
They would always expect for it to be like that. They would say it was a little long, little short. They would wonder how. In case you're wondering, it's the Tumbapulu, the color is exactly like this. It's white in color. And my grandfather would buy these colored flowers like the red, Kanagambaram or different flowers. So they'd have one strip. It's so light, you can't make a complete garland. You would have to make several strips. Yes. Picture it, it's like one moram. They would make this length and they would connect it with colored flowers and then white, right? So they have to imagine, and what you offer to Swami, you don't put it on or you don't measure anything for God, that you offer for God. So Swami put it on and he told my mother, Saripoindi. Means became alright. Later on she realized there were multiple meanings. With Swami, there are multiple layers, multiple meanings. This was in 1968. By saripoindi, what it means is, yeah, it's worked out all right. It's all right. It works. It also means that's it. You could take it like that too. So within weeks, when my grandparents went to have, I'll connect it back to the story about how my mother did not eat that day. And previous day, my Swami came and materialized vibhuti for everybody in the family. He looked at my mother and didn't give her vibhuti. That's when my mother realized it's because I didn't listen to my mother. So the following day, he rewarded her by only calling her and showing her the garland. And he blessed her. He materialized vibhuti only for her, and he gave it and said, distribute it to your sisters. Not, his delays are never his denials, but he's always trying to teach you a lesson with that. Swami said, Saripoindi. Within a few weeks, when my parents visited Prashanthi Nilayam, it was their 60th wedding anniversary. Swami was very busy with Modi Eye Camp that year, so he couldn't perform there. They got several interviews as a family, but my grandparents, they got an interview, and Swami said, your daughter, Pichi, she'll become Pichi like this, go get her married. Get her in the family, we get her married. But they were saying, Swami, she's saying no, she's saying she doesn't want to get married, she wants to dedicate her life to you. Swami said, nothing doing, find her a match and get her married. And within weeks, quickly they found a match and my mother's wedding took place. My father was an on-site devotee. He told her, I know that you go to Satya Sai Baba bhajans. In our family, we don't approve of all this. I want you to promise on this picture of Swami that you will not go have his darshan. So she promised. Everything is a test from Swami. After being so madly in love, she promised on Swami's picture and she said, okay, I promise on his picture I will not go see him. But she kept that promise. She didn't have a picture of Swami in the altar, but she would say, it didn't matter to me when I went to Tiruvekadu, when I saw Karmariyamman, I only saw Swami there. For us, sometimes I'd go to different temples and I'll be chanting Sai Gayatri there in front of Balaji. It's natural. For us, that's what comes for us. But she said she only, kept seeing Swami through all of this.
He says, no, I'm all names and all forms.
All forms, yes, yes. So she had a long break after her wedding, several years. Even when Swami visited Chennai, she wanted to keep her word. For her, that mattered. She didn't have Swami's darshans for many years. And then my brother and I came along. We were enrolled in Balvika's classes. Yes, maybe we should continue after this. So my brother and I were enrolled in Balvika's classes. And slowly my father started realizing this Sai Baba's not such a bad thing after all. They seem to be teaching a lot of good stuff. They seem to be teaching a lot of good things. Shlokas, that's good. I am trying to teach my son the Gayatri Mantra. He's not learning, but he's learning it in Balvikas because his peers seem to, it becomes like positive peer pressure, right? So he was very happy and he started becoming neutral. From anti, he started becoming neutral. That's how it happens, right? Gradual. But again, Swami is also testing us to see, are we attached to the form so much or not? Are we attached to his message? Right? Over years, slowly he started seeing the transformation in my brother and I. And slowly, because we are in Balvikas, when Swami visits Chennai, we'll be taken for a cultural program there. And then they go, the group of Balvikas children from here have to go to Puttaparthi. Then I'll go, Appa, can I go? Like that, it slowly grew.
Yes, yes.
But in the meantime, my grandparents are telling me about Swami. My mother is telling me about Swami. So the love for Swami slowly started growing in me also. And Balvika's teachers played a huge role in that in Chennai. I was mentioning this house in Alvarpet. If you're from Chennai, you remember, we used to live, I grew up in a place called Shanagar, Annanagar area. I would have to change 2 buses, public transportation, 2 buses to get to Alvarpet. But my mother enrolled me in Balvikas there because Swami used to live in that house. And our classes happened in the room that Swami would give interviews in. It was so important to her. In fact, my brother's named Ishwar after that Ishwar uncle. She said Swami would say Ishwar, Ishwar. So she named him Ishwar for that reason. So maybe I think this is a good point to take a break for coffee. Even I need to stay hydrated. So we'll come back and we'll talk about Swami some more. Ladies were made to sit right in front of that. The men were on the other side. This was before Sai Ramesh Hall could come into existence. There was just a tree in the back, Sai Ram shed. So when Swami came out for darshan, he saw the group of devotees. But before this, I was so excited. I got ready and I was sitting in the first row. Got ready. But the Seva Dalanti in charge came for her rounds and she saw me and went, child, you are not Sevadal, you are pre-Sevadal. You know, we have all these differences, youth, SSC slot, you cannot sing in this slot, you cannot be part of this, how can you be part of everything? You know, that for Swami, it's all one and the same. But for the organization structure, we have to follow certain guidelines. I'm not saying no. But this auntie said, no, you're not proper Sevadal. Get up, you shouldn't be in the first row. But everybody's waiting to get that spot, right? No sooner did I get up, the spots were filled, and there was no place for me to sit, so I had to go all the way back. And naturally, you can imagine, you know, I was so disappointed, so dejected. I woke up early, was so excited. It's almost like I did this duty, so I'll get this opportunity, but not with that expectation. So I was very disappointed. I was all the way in the back of this. So if you can imagine it, Kalyana Mandap, if the Kalyana Mandap ends here, I was supposed to be in the front when Swami comes out. Now I'm at the very back. So I'm right in front of the Kalyana Mandap door. If you open the door, it's the Kalyana Mandap there. Swami comes out for darshan. He passes the women side. He just does Abhayastha, he blesses us. He goes and gives his regular round of darshan. And for a few minutes, we don't know where Swami is. Turns out he entered the boys' hostel. And he came through the back door and entered the Kalyana Mandapam. He was looking at taking care of some arrangements there. The Anantapur students were coming and they were going to stay there. Sometimes we used to use that space as a dorm, we would stay there. So he was making sure everything was ready. Before we knew it, there's this hustle and bustle behind me. The door opens and Swami standing there. So from first to last to first again. Swami's opening the door, I'm right at his feet. Nobody's expecting this. He says, I'll give you Padanamskar, arrange yourselves in rows. While all of that confusion is happening, there are my hands right at his feet. Row 1, column 1. So that was, and of course I got an opportunity to give the letter to Swami. I didn't say anything, I gave the letter to Swami, and when he took it, I took it as his blessing that yes, I could join his college and he would give me a seat. But when I reflected on this deeply, I thought about this some more. You know, sometimes we try to do things and things don't go the way we planned. And I'm sure we've all experienced this big first to last to first. He takes care of us somehow, right? And even if you end up being in the back, that too is part of his plan. We have to learn to accept that. But I was really fortunate, Swami blessed me, and I wrote the entrance exam and I got admission into intermediate program. This was for 11th grade in Anantapur. I joined with all excitement, spent a week, all of 1 week in the campus, extremely homesick. That 1 week period, my mother tells me I wrote dozens of letters, and the last few letters she said were blotched with my tears. She couldn't read the writing. I was so homesick. I'd never been away from home. So, and I remember this, it's a small enough group that I can share this. Apparently in the letter I wrote, here is what you can tell to get me out of here without getting me in trouble. So I was telling, tell Appa not to shave, so it looks like he's sick. Now when I think back, I'm so naive, I'm not proud of this, but you have to be honest, you can't stand up here next to Swami and say, I was this perfect teenager, anything but. So I was telling Amma to come and say, father's missing her, she's the only daughter, he's missing her, he's very sad, he wants to take her back. So both my parents came, being the obedient parents they were. They came there and they got a nice lecture from our principal, Madam Hemlata Madam. I remember she said, do you think this is a lodge? You can just come stay here for a week and go. See, think about it. Swami, when he gives you that seat, and when you leave halfway, you're depriving another student of that opportunity. It's not fair. And that could have been a student who really needed that, who couldn't afford the education.
Yes.
So I did realize that it was a mistake. And the next 2 years was a lot of, for my teenage mind, that was a lot of soul searching. And I regretted what I had done. And I slowly accepted that, someday I'm going to have to move away and I can't always be living with my parents. A job might take me somewhere, a marriage might take me somewhere. And mentally I was preparing myself, and I decided for my degree undergrad, I will apply only in Satya Sai College. I will not apply anywhere else. And if it's Swami's will, I'll get admission. 2 years passed on. I applied for a degree, and Swami was kind enough that I got an opportunity, got selected, and I joined Anantapur College. The program begins with a summer course. Swami had restarted it in 91, I think. He started just the year before I joined. This was the year 1992. I joined for the summer course. It was beautiful. The students call the summer course the honeymoon period. When, he's really looking after you, he's very nice. he's feeding you all this wonderful food, and you have all these guest lectures from these erudite speakers. And my mother was there in this happens in Whitefield, Swami's Vrindavan Ashram. Summer course happens there. And our campus, Anantapur campus, is about a 5-hour drive from there. About a week into the summer course, I realized, okay, this is not going to last. I'm going to have to go away to the campus, and I'll be brought back to see Swami only for festivals. And I start getting homesick all over again. This time when I joined the campus, my father said, I want nothing to do with this. In my father's defense, he was a non-devotee. Now he's barely neutral, and then he's like, I can't get chewed out by your principal one more time. I'm not going through with this. He wanted nothing to do with this. But my mother was my rock. She had the Swami Pichi, and I think she passed it on to me. If there was any ancestral property that I'm very proud of, it's this. Mirabai sings, Payoji maine namaratan dhanu payo. This is the best dhan you can leave for your children. The SSC, being a Sai youth. So she was my rock at that time, and when I was crying to her, I remember I said, Amma, summer course is done, let's go back. It's been nice, let's go back. She said, yes, I'll take you back under one condition. I said, anything, Amma. You name it, I'll do it. I was all of 17. I'll get you married right away. I said, no. I said, no, not happening. She said, I'll find a boy and get you married. She said, of course you're going to have to go somewhere else. It's just a matter of time. Better now with Swami than ever. But I also remember she told me this one afternoon, this was the penultimate day of summer course. She said, you keep saying you're homesick, you're missing me, you're missing Dad. But your mom and Dad can respond to you and care for you and take care of what you need only if we are within hearing distance. Right? Makes sense. Amma, I need something, can you help me with this? If she's upstairs and the windows are closed, she can't do anything about it, right? She said, call on Swami. He has the love of 1,000 mothers. And I don't know if it was a passing statement, it stuck with me. She said, call on Swami and he'll respond immediately, whether he's within hearing distance or no. That afternoon, Swami sends word, and he says, I'm going to distribute saris to all of you. This was again taken for granted. Summer course and Swami's birthday, he would distribute saris. Didi's here, she will tell you. In fact, at the Golden Jubilee, the sari she's wearing is the sari they were gifted for Golden Jubilee this year, Golden Jubilee celebrations. So Swami said, I'll distribute saris, however, I'm very busy this year. There are a lot of dignitaries, several ministers from the cabinet that are here, and I'm giving many private interviews. So typically, we sit in rows facing each other, and Swami will walk and distribute the saris and give Pada Namaskar. He said, no Pada Namaskar this time. Come in lines. I will be standing here, I'll give you the sari, you take your sari and then go. Here I am very homesick. I'm going away to this hostel. I'm going to be away, which my mother says I treated like a jail. It seems from the dormitory, Amma, she said it looked like you were jailed behind bars. So I came up with a plan which I thought was foolproof. When it's my turn to collect the sari, and brothers and sisters, this idea came to me moments before it actually happened. If Swami's here and I'm there, there are 2 girls in line before. So when Swami's handing my sari, my plan was, I'll collect the sari, and accidentally drop it, not on his feet, by his feet, and when I'm picking it up, I'll just touch his feet and nobody will know. It could have worked. I could have pulled this off. Because everybody has their eyes on Swami. Nobody's looking at this 17-year-old who's coming up with a plan of her own. It really would have worked. Except Swami gives me the sari and he wouldn't let go. He's holding on to it for dear life. It's like a mini tug of war. And all campuses are watching. The brothers, where the deer are and the sisters are here, everybody's watching, like, Swami, let go. When he realized, he wanted me to realize that he's doing this on purpose, and then he gave me a gotcha. He gave me that look. No words exchanged, he didn't scold me, none of that. Because I feel now, if he had scolded me or chided me, I think, I might have felt let down. My self-confidence would have taken a beating. And in those formative moments, he wants to make this connection with you, right? This one-on-one connection. I remember an incident, some of the things I'm sharing, they're just coming to me. Swami's inspiring these thoughts. Professor T. Ravi Kumar, another Tyagajivi at the Vrindavan campus. He says when he came to Swami as a Balvika student, he had been up to no good in school. He would miss school, bunk school, and go and watch a movie right across in Bangalore, watch movies, and his grades were slipping, and poor thing, his father was sick, he had lost his mother, his father was sick. That was not a very responsible thing to do. But this had happened the following week when his father took him to have Swami's darshan. He was a Balvika student and everything, wearing his white and whites and prim and proper, nice white vibhuti and all that. Swami approached them in the darshan line, and Swami came to T. Ravikumar sir, who was a young boy at that time, and he said, "Good boy." Swami said, "Good boy." And here he thought, yeah, we even fooled Swami, even he doesn't know the things I do. And then he talked to the father, he said, "Hey, where are the members from your samiti?" "Oh yes, Swami, they're in the back. Go call them." And Swami sent the father to fetch some other people. And Swami looks at him, the boy, and he goes, "Good boy." Good boy? Now the good boy is not a statement, it's now a question. He's asking, "Are you a good boy?" In India we do this, we don't form complete sentences. "Good boy," "Sapta cha," like that, "Good boy," Swami asks. Now he's a little scared because everybody's told him this Swami is a Sarvantriyami, he knows everything that happens. "Where were you last Saturday?" Swami asks him. And all this while the father is trying to, Sri Ravikumar says jokes, maybe it's because of me that all those people got an interview that day. But poor father is trying to get all the other people from his Sai center. And Swami is talking to this young boy. He asked him, "Where were you last Saturday around 4 p.m.? "Swami, Saturday 4 p.m. I would have been in school." "Yeah, you should have been in school, but where were you?" And now he knows. He's just sitting like that. Swami says, "I'll tell you where you were. Ajanta Theatre, Katti Patan, Rajesh Khanna, Asha Parekh, whoever were the actresses. This boy was sitting next to you, this boy was sitting to your left." He's nervous, he's scared, and his father's starting to come back there. He doesn't know, is the Swami going to, rat me out to my father? I've been acting like this Miss Goody Two Shoes. What's going to happen? Just when the father comes there, Swami tells him, "Good boy. I'm just telling him to always have good company." And T. Ravikumar sir says that sealed the moment for him with Swami. And he could have told, "Look at this boy, he's up to no good." But maybe had that happened, he would have lost that. This is my Swami. That was his my Swami moment. For me, I can say this was my Swami moment. Two come in mind. One is when I went from first to last to first, and then this incident where he gave the sari. He's actually proving his omnipresence.
Yes.
Right? Ever-present Sai, finding Sai in every moment is the theme for this talk. He's showing me, I know your thought the moment it originates in your mind. You don't have to write it in a letter and give it to me. Even writing the letter is for Trikarana Shuddhi, unity of thought, word and deed. When you're thinking about Swami, you spend your time, you ruminate on it and you write it down, you give it to him. It gives you Trikarana Shuddhi, unity of thought, word and deed. But coming back to the story, he gives me the sari, and clearly after all that I cannot drop it, take Padnamskar. So I'm shy, I just take the sari and go. And I remember some of my friends going, "Oh Anuradha, you're so lucky, Swami spent so much time, like if only you knew." But he sent me with this very important, all-powerful lesson that he's always with me. So my mother was right that afternoon when she said, "Call on him and he'll respond." This was in the month of May. Our first opportunity to come back and have darshan Swami in Puttaparthi was for Guru Purnima, festival of Guru Purnima. My birthday falls in July, it's July 24th, and Guru Purnima is typically around that time, a few days before and after, or after. So it was a tradition in Anantapur, and I'm sure it continues to this day. If you're celebrating your birthday around the time that we visit Swami, you can sit in the front and have an opportunity to have darshan from close quarters. So it was my turn to sit in the front. I was sitting with a tray of chocolates and things to get blessed by Swami because my birthday was fast approaching. And Swami came for darshan. He came up to me and he asked in Tamil, "Appa amma vandirkala, good morning sollu." It means, your father and mother have come, say good morning to them. Now, he didn't say, "Appa amma vandirkangla." Sometimes when Swami talks in Tamil, he speaks in this broken,
Yes.
like Kacha Tamil. He used the same slang that we use in our home, in a typical Tambram home. We'll say vandirkala. He said, "Appa amma vandirkala, good morning sollu." I connected all this later. I said, "Oh, Swami even paid close attention to that." I had no idea what he was talking about. I said, I'm here with a group of girls. We didn't have a landline at home even by then, so we were not allowed calls. Like the boys, we couldn't call parents whenever we liked. When they called, we'd have somebody speak on our behalf and give a message. I had no idea what Swami was saying, and he was looking at me and the girl next to me. So we were wondering, what is this about? I step outside the mandir, and I see my parents waiting there with the bag and baggage. They had come to surprise me because they knew I was homesick, and they brought some sweets, and my mother made some jewelry, to get blessed by Swami. Even before I knew, he was telling me, your parents are going to come, tell them I know, give them my good morning, the blessings. Another sign of his omniscience, right? During my college days in those 3 years, several times Swami came up to me and asked about a husband that never existed then. I was 17, 18 years old. First time he asked, husband has come? Has your husband come? I said, Swami? I didn't know what to say. I had this deer in headlights look. Then he said, that boy, like I was supposed to know who this boy is. I was so nervous, and I had my, Gemma madam and all of these teachers sitting around. I was freaking out. I said, oh my gosh, Swami, now they're going to think I have a boyfriend. That's the last thing I want. But later, some of the akkas, Sai Lakshmi Akka was telling me, this entire world, all of creation, this creation is Prakriti.
Yes.
He's the only Purusha, not any Purusha, Parama Purusha. He's the only masculine. We are all feminine waiting to unite with him. And Bhakta Meera, if you watch that movie, again, like I was recommending the book Lakshmi God, it's a pitch for the movie Bhakta Meera, in which I believe the Kali Yuga Meera, M.S. Subbalakshmi Amma has acted in that movie. Beautiful. There's one scene towards the end when she leaves the palace and she goes towards Vrindavan. She passes by an ashram of a sage who originally gave her that statue of her Giridhara Gopal when she was a child. When she finds out his ashram is there, she asks his followers, oh, I'd like to have his darshan. And they tell her, oh no, he's taken a vow that he will not interact with people of the opposite gender. And she says, oh, is that so? I thought we were all feminine and he was only Parama Purusha. In this Vrindavan, there's one more Purusha besides Krishna. Hearing this from inside, the saint comes and falls at her feet. Bhakta Meera realized that. We are all feminine, he's the only masculine. So, coming back to this story. Which story was this?
About boyfriend.
Yes. So there was no boyfriend. So when Swami asked me that in Sai Lakshmi Akka said, no, this is what Swami means. Like the Gopikas, you're one of the, oh, I'm one of the Gopikas. And I said, this suddenly felt good about that. A few years, several times he asked me this, where is your husband? Where is your husband? And one incident comes to mind. I was doing security duty. It's like Sevadal duty. After you graduate from the institute, they give you a different colored scarf. Basically, it's just crowd control, making sure people don't fall on Swami, and also you get the first line, you get to see Swami from up close, but you can't be offering letters or anything like that during that time. Earlier that day, my mother was, in passing, she made a comment and she was saying, this person has came. And I was quick, being the smart aleck that I was. I told her, Amma, it's wrong English. You don't say somebody has came, it's somebody has come. She said, big deal, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Hold on, potato, patara, tomato. Fine. And Swami comes for darshan that afternoon. I'm given security duty inside Ramesh Hall in the second or third gate. And already I'm complaining because I had done that duty in the morning and I got the same duty in the afternoon. I'm cribbing to Amma, going, why is this Akka giving me the same duty again? I'm complaining. But I didn't know there was a blessing waiting. Swami is getting ready to leave somewhere. And he saw the group of Sevadals waiting for Pad Namaskar. So he stopped the car right in front of where I was sitting. He tells the driver, Apu. He tells him to stop. Swami opens the door, gets down, and comes right in front of me. And he asks me, husband has came? Now the people sitting around, they have no idea what this is about. Anything Swami says, you'll take it, right? I'm in shock. I was not at all prepared for that. Swami, my mother's sitting just a few feet from me. She's so happy Swami's talking to Anu. But then later I had to tell Amma, Swami was kind of poking fun and he was telling me I shouldn't be talking to you this way. But again, signs of his omniscience. He knows everything. No detail misses his eyes. Right? Another experience that I remember is, how we say when you have Sai's Anugraha, when you have his grace, the Navagrahas, the bad effects of the 9 planets cannot affect you. I remember reading in Loving God Again. That's my go-to book for everything. Swami materializes a Navaratna Modaram ring for Kasturi Garu, and he says, if you have Swami's grace, the Navagrahas will not affect you. You will see it in due course, but until then you have this ring. Swami tells him and gives him this ring. Turns out that he was actually craving a ring from Swami. Swami was fulfilling that wish too. But I was back at home after my degree and getting ready to go back to Parthi for security duty during one of those festival weeks. And my father came up out of the blue and he said, I saw a numerologist and he recommends that I change the spelling for some of the members in our family. Like my father's name is S. Narayana Swami. In South India it just goes by initials, you don't spell out the last name. So his name is S. Narayana Swami. He said he wanted me to shorten it, so now it is S.N. Swami. So my brother's name is Ishwar. He said it ends with war, W-A-R, it's not good. So his name was changed to Ishwaran. So for me, apparently he had said 8 is not a lucky number. My name adds up to 8 letters, Anuradha, A-N-U-R-A-D-H-A. So he suggested make it 9 or 7. So my father was asking me, what spelling would you like? I said, Appa Swami is there, he'll take care. I'm not worried about this. I really didn't pay attention to that. I just ignored that. Went to Puttaparthi. I'm doing Sevadal duty. I still remember the auntie who was sitting next to me. She's in the Tustin Book Center now. And Swami came for darshan. He's looking at her and he asked her in, I forget if it was in Tamil or Telugu, but he asked her, who said, in Telugu, he told her, Evaru chepparu, he's looking at that lady, I'm sitting here, he looks at this lady next to me and he says, Evaru chepparu, 8 lucky number ledani, 8 lucky number 8. He says, who said 8 is not a lucky number? 8 is a lucky number. And he's saying that like, it is a lucky number. And quickly in passing, he looks at me and he leaves. But it wasn't, and the funny thing is, this auntie is asking me to translate what Swami told her. She's a Tamilian. She's saying, what did Swami say? And while I'm translating that, I'm going, wow. She needed the sambhashan and I needed the message. I remember that. And then, of course, with Swami, with his grace, he was again reassuring that with my grace, who said 8 is not a lucky number? Actually, it is, there are Ashtalakshmis, 8 Lakshmis. There's so many nice connections. I think for the Chinese, 8 is a very lucky number. They schedule C-sections when it all adds up to 9, 8, and the house numbers, they want it to be 8. So something about, in Hindu tradition, about 8 being an infinite loop and it not being lucky or something like that. But with Swami, Vastu, everything is out the window with Swami.
Yeah, but that's why he says about Ashtami and Navami. He
Yes.
says, Rama Navami and Krishna
Yes.
Ashtami, and why do you call it? It's not.
Yes, it's not inauspicious, Navami and Ashtami, yes. I shared one story with the sari. There's some connection with saris and Swami and me. One more sari story. You know how mothers are. There's a lot of you in the audience, and it doesn't matter how old you are and how old your daughter is. You want to see your daughter dolled up, dressed up, and like me, I have grey hair coming out of my ears. And my mother is still, this is actually, it's funny, I didn't plan this, but this is my mother's 9-yard sari that she cut it into 6 yards and she said, wear it. So they are always just giving, I'm sure, Sulu auntie, you're doing that. Yamini shows me a lot of the nice saris that you have, the rich Kanjivaram saris. I'm sure all the aunties here too, you'll agree. So my mother and I, after morning darshan, we just, walking past there. I used to love the ice creams there in the ice cream parlor. This was in the early 90s. The ice cream parlor used to be closer to the mandir. It wasn't, you didn't have to walk all the way back there.
Very close to the stupa.
Yes, close to stupa. We'd get one orange to it and one raspberry to it and we'd, eat that. I remember fond memories of that.
Joy
so
ice
little
cream.
things. Sorry?
Joy ice cream.
Was it Joy ice cream? Yes. Yes, I used to love the ice creams then. So my mother and I are eating this ice cream and then we're walking and then a lady passes by from the front. And my mother makes a remark. She says, I love that sari, that color combination, the kapi color. And it's brown with nice silver checks. It looks so nice, white checks. You should wear something like that. And again, please don't judge me. I was about 19 or something, 20 when this happened. I told her, Amma, I'm 19, 20 years old. What kind of a color is brown? That is for aunties. For me, you should suggest something like pink and green, what this auntie here is wearing. I should say this, it must be the Edmonton water. All the aunties look like, they are mothers of teenagers. All of them, every single one of them. So I tell Amma, what kind of a color is, brown? Brown is such a dull and drab color. Suggest something like green and pink. You should get me a green and pink sari. It's like, I don't care. I want to see you in this color. That's just a wish. Let it go. It is around the time of Swami's 70th. It's the year 2000, so it would have been Swami's 75th birthday, right? So Swami is in a very giving mood. He decides that afternoon he's going to distribute saris to everybody in the audience, not just students, ex-students. And I happen to be in the ex-student block. And again, with Swami, his delays are never his denials. And even if you think you're not getting something you desire, there's a reason behind that. That morning, the security in charge had said, no, you can't start security duty. There's a lot of people waiting in the list. You can't start today, you can start only tomorrow. And I was complaining to my mother about that. But it turned out to be a blessing because I got to sit for darshan. If I'd been doing duty, I would not have got the blessing that was awaiting me. So I was sitting with a group of ex-students. I was number 3 or something, the 3rd row. Swami is distributing saris to different groups of people, and he comes to our ex-student block. Typically when Swami distributes saris, for a group of students, it would be the same type of sari. It would either be the same color, different print, or same print in different color borders or something like that, or plain white saris. For convent students, he would always give plain white saris. But because this was for everybody, all the devotees gathered there, the boys were carrying different types of saris. There would be a silk sari, a synthetic sari, a cotton sari, and they'd bring these piles. And Swami was going through, typically you take what's up on top, right? He was taking one by one and distributing to people. And then he found a green and pink sari. It was on top of the bundle. He picks it up. He looks at the girl in the front. He looks at me in the 3rd row. He looks at the sari. He leans forward, makes an attempt, like, when he wants you to get a message, he'll let it be known. He reaches out, he's struggling to give the sari to the girl behind me, not to me. He gives the sari to her, and I'm so disappointed. And then he goes back, he goes through the pile. All this while he's been picking the sari from up top. He goes through the pile like this, picks the sari, what color?
Green and pink.
Yes. Brown. Exact same, brown. And none of this is planned, nothing is a coincidence. Yesterday, one of my friends, very close friend, very dear friend, Aparna Murli, and I are batchmates. She's a national YA advisor in United States. She was visiting Atlanta to give a talk. So, Swami, I think, I cannot stand up here and with a clean conscience say I'm a messenger of Swami, though our group was called, all students were called messengers of Sai. But it's so humbling that Swami, puts us on this pedestal and people look up to us like that. I don't think I'm deserving at all. So Aparna and my family, we go back over 25 years. So she's in Atlanta and my mother's there. Our families know each other from back then. She sends me a picture that she took in the Atlanta Center yesterday. Guess what sari my mother's wearing? This brown coffee color sari. So maybe I was meant to share it today. But look at that, even that, a comment made in passing between a mother and daughter, he's privy to every conversation, except he's the silent witness. If you're into Harry Potter, I used to be very much into Harry Potter with my daughter when she was in her early teens. You too, auntie? Yes. The invisible cloak?
Yes.
So you have to just imagine Swami's wearing that invisible cloak and he's with you traveling everywhere. I remember this beautiful incident, these thoughts are just coming and I'm sharing as they come. I heard Geeta Ramati, I'm sure all of you are familiar. She's an amazing speaker, amazing. She was here? Yes, you're very blessed. She once shared that she used to tell her children, when they would ask her, why can't I sit in the passenger seat in the front? No, Swami's sitting in that chair. She would say that
But they're filled with
a few weeks later, when she went to see Swami, she said, you tell your children Swami's sitting there and you put your Carnatic cassette and your handbag and everything over there. We say things to our children, but we don't mean them. If we truly meant Swami sitting in the chair, would you just throw something on top of that? And this thought is just coming. A few weeks ago, just the day before Auntie Nalina was, I think, leaving to Parthi for the Gogri conference, or maybe it was a few days before that. That morning, I had gone shopping with my mother, and I bought a cake stand. These may all seem like insignificant little things, but with Swami, you have to find, it is always about him. He's in everything we do, in everything. So I bought this cake stand because we have this Panchamukeshwara Lingam at home. There was an Atirudram performed in Atlanta. One of the devotees who got this Lingam, he's not able to do Nitya Puja. And he knows Amma and I, we chant. I don't do it as regularly as Amma does. Every morning she chants her Rudram and Chamakam, Vishnu Sachnavam. He said, Auntie, you love doing puja for Swami and I'm not able to care for it because I'm traveling. Can I leave the Lingam in your home? It's a nice, big size Lingam, heavy. So Amma's been doing Abhishekam for this for the last 2 years actually. So she kept it in a small silver plate, and she was really struggling, you know, to collect the water, clean it up and put it back. So I thought I'll get her this cake stand which can go on a big basin, so the water falls from it and it's easy for her to clean it. So, but I bought it in the store with this intention, but the basin we had was too small for that cake stand. Water would spill outside. So I'm like, oh Swami, why did you make me buy this? You know, there has to be have been a purpose. And I'd removed the sticker and everything. I couldn't return it in the store. And I was thinking what to do. And I talked to Auntie Nalina, and she mentions that just that week, is it true that your padukas were on Swami's footstool?
Yes.
It used to be kept on Swami's footstool, and
The one on the above.
it used to be on that footstool there.
Yes.
And just that week you had moved it away from there because you wanted, you know, you believe Swami sitting in that chair.
Yes. We had moved it down.
Will
into
you-
a different thing.
There was a devotee who had come here, and she saw Swami witnessing, sitting very
Uncomfortably.
with 2 feet to one side, not putting his feet on the padukas, that we imagine that, like who's going to sit with shoes inside like
Yes,
but
yes.
that's what it is.
Yes.
So she had seen it when she came. She had just arrived from Calgary, and she saw that, and she was so moved, and she told us that, and then we did this.
We had to.
But what's beautiful is when she told you that, you were open to the idea of changing that. Sometimes in the organization, or you know, somebody, a founding father may have set certain rules. Somebody else comes in and says, okay, we're going to change the hours a little bit. We're going to move this around. You know, we try to fight it. There's resistance because it's outside our comfort zone. Who dare changes that, right? You should be open. Swami was such a all-embracing. He would be like, let's do it.
And actually that little stand that is sitting, that the padukas are now sitting, the padukas were brought on that stand.
Oh, wow.
So they
How
actually
beautiful.
belong there.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? You know, everything is planned. That too, we had a lesson to learn in that attachment.
Yes.
Yes.
The reason we don't want to let go.
Yes.
Fake
And
garland.
Change is
Yes,
so
change is
difficult.
so hard, but change is the only constant. It's the only
Yes.
constant in life.
Change is constant.
We deal with it at work, but somehow in the Sai centers we don't want that. We fight it. Tooth and nail, we fight it.
Because at work they'll fire you.
What? No Guru Bhajan after Ganesh? In Sundaram, that's how it is done. But well, this is not Sundaram. So we have to be, you know, we have to listen to one another, but you have to use discretion. That's the reason, you know, the collective conscience decides. It's not elections, it's selections.
It's
When you
selections, yes.
trust that somebody is going to be a center president, a devotional coordinator, if the devotional coordinator tells us, you're not quite ready to sing this bhajan today, how about you practice? You know, we can't fight it. Swami told me to sing this bhajan. Well, Swami didn't tell me. Right? Imagine if everybody decided to do that. Swami told me, Swami told me. Then sing it in your altar. But yes, coming back to the story, when Auntie shared that, I said, it's a message for me. Maybe this stand came home because I had my silver padukas which Swami, I can say mine, Amma got those made for me. When I was a student, I got it blessed by Swami. Swami touched it, and my mother was not satisfied. That same evening, she took it back in the darshan line. She said, oh, that's not going to cut it for me. Swami just touched it. She took it back in the darshan line, took some flowers. She put it on the floor. Swami stepped on the padukas and she offered flowers.
At his feet.
And she got to literally do Pada Puja to Swami. So those are the padukas I have at home. And I had it just like this, where you had it originally on the footstool. And I have a robe that Swami gave to Amma in 1964. It's a yellow robe. It's the color of a Didi sari. It's a Pitambaram robe that Swami used to wear for Krishnashtami in those days.
There,
Yes.
that picture over there.
Oh, I can see it from here, but yes, golden color robe. So the padukas were kept right there. Auntie, I'm sure you would have seen it at home, the padukas. So then I realized, okay, Swami is telling me through Auntie, but you know, don't let this go too far, this telling me through somebody else. When Swami wants to communicate to you, he'll communicate directly, but I took it as a sign, and from that day onwards, our padukas have been on that cake stand right by, like yours is right in front, ours is right by that. But you know, we have to look for these signs. You have to look for these signs, and you have to be very alert.
Open.
You have to be open-minded, and you have to be alert, or you'll miss it, or you'll miss it.
Tell them about that lady who brought you when you were in one of the retreats.
Oh, the water?
The water.
Okay. All right.
The light, everybody was sick or something.
Yes. All right.
You know which one?
Auntie, I believe that Swami is asking for this too. So the theme is ever-present Sai, finding Sai in everyday things, right? So I'm invited to speak at an event, and I decided to go a couple days earlier because my cousin lives in that area, And I thought it'll be nice to take mom along so she can spend some time with this cousin and we can attend the event too and then go back. So the mistake I made was I did some of my socializing and sightseeing and all of that before Swami's work. You know, when you come on Swami's work, that should be your focus. So this cousin of mine, he's not a Sai devotee, he took me to an Indian restaurant, and on this wall is all these pictures of yesteryear's film actors, and sitting there we're having this conversation about who's this, who's that. For some reason I'm feeling very uncomfortable. I don't want to be part of this conversation. You know, when you're coming to do Swami's work, you want to be focused on that, you want to be centered, and you don't want anything else, right? Any negative thoughts or any of that. But something happens, I don't know what it is, but the previous day I had stayed with a friend whose family had just returned from India and everybody had the stomach bug, the stomach flu. They had young children, I was looking after them and everything. You know, typically with something like that, it's just a matter of time. It's not if, it's a matter of when you're going to get the same bug, right? It's like a cold. One person, the father gets it, all the children. One child brings it from school, everybody gets it. So that night, I had all the classic symptoms of a stomach flu. I'm purging non-stop. I'm vomiting, diarrhea, you have non-stop. And I called this friend with whom I'd stayed, and this is a good friend of my husband's from many years. I say, you know, can you tell me what was that drug that they took when I seemed to be having the same symptoms, but I didn't want to make him feel bad, you know. He's probably going to feel bad that I've come for Swami's work, and he's like, oh my gosh, and wait, wherever you are, text me the address. He shows up with the medicine. He's like, you're traveling, you're not going to get this prescription. He comes, he says, don't take one tablet, you'll be knocked out, you have to speak tomorrow morning. He tells me, take only half a tablet, this, that, I take that. Until 7:30 the following morning, I'm continuously purging. But at 7:30, I remember, you know, I was shaking because every drop of fluid from my body is drained. I remember my mother was sitting on my leg and massaging me. She was like trying to control the tremors kind of thing. Somehow at 7:30, I go shower and, you know, play Swami. Hail Mary, go give the talk, facilitate a workshop in the afternoon, there's a Q&A session, everything goes through, it's in check. I'm being very careful, I'm not eating anything at this point, being very careful, not one incident, give the talks, finish Swami's work. Following day, at one of the centers in that area, I give another talk in the evening. So just before that talk, a lady comes up to me and she gives me a chilled bottle of Gatorade and a smart water, and she says, this person sent this for you. That's the name of the person with whom I had stayed the previous day. His name is Pavan and his family. So in my mind I go, okay, it makes sense. Pavan knew that I was probably dehydrated and I had come for Swami's work. So he was sending this water so I'd be, he knew that I should stay hydrated. And he had told me, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you're drinking electrolytes, all that. I said, definitely, it makes sense. I held on to the drinks, I finished the Gatorade and I'm holding on to the water. I give my talk. That night I go to the host's residence. Just before going to bed, I'm texting Pavan and I say, thank you for the drinks. And he says, I can show you the text, I have it. What drinks? He says, what drinks? I said, did you not send some drinks for me? She's like, no. I said, a lady handed me some drinks and said, Pavan sent these for you. Is there any other Pavan in the center? He said, yeah, there's one other Pavan, but I just met him for dinner. He mentioned nothing about that. He said, Anu, you just witnessed a miracle. I said, what are you talking about? He said that afternoon, around the time that I was scheduled to give the talk, he was praying in his altar. He was praying to Swami and saying, Swami, she's come for your work, and I feel so bad that she contracted this disease from my family. Please allow her to do your work. Let this not come in the way. And he was inspired to do this meditation technique where you send healing energy to the person and hope that, Swami's healing energy goes and cures this person. He said, Swami must have heard my prayers and he sent you that. But then here I thought, clearly the water was not medicine, and maybe I heard Pavan, maybe she said some other name, but if she had not said Pavan, maybe I heard Pavan, but still if I had not messaged him, I would have never known about this, right? Mm-hmm. For somebody who may ask, but maybe he never said that, but still for all of this to happen, you have to find Swami in these little things, everywhere. And so that's the story again. Let me see if there's something uplifting I can share before. 5 minutes, something? Okay.
10.
All right.
10.
10, okay, maybe 2. I hope I'm not boring you.
Oh, go ahead.
Swami stories are never boring. Yeah, I can listen to these stories. All right, so I've been very fortunate that I got to travel with several Sai alumni sisters to different parts of US and participate in events and retreats where it's a whole day retreat where they'll invite us and they say, you take care of the program. You have from 9 to 5, you plan the program for us. We've done this in a few regions. They said, we'll have 1 or 2 talks and a musical offering. Typically it ends with a music offering. So I was involved in putting together the musical program. We can say we are the lead and this and that, but Swami works through each of us, right? He makes all the decisions. So I was working with this one Akka who lives in New Jersey, Prashanti Akka, and I were working on the PowerPoint. In fact, Akka, the Golden Jubilee celebrations, the songs that you all sang, the PowerPoint slides, Prashanti and Akka, she did most of the heavy lifting, but I was quality assurance or whatever you call it, tester. So we were working on it together. So we were working, this Akka and I were working on slides for one of the programs that was coming up. So this Akka messages me one night and she says, Anu, can you take a look at the slides, see if they look fine? I said, oh Akka, we just lost power. It's been 20-30 minutes, we haven't had power. She said, really? In America it's very strange that you've not had power for so long. Typically it comes right back. And we were not in Tornado Alley or Hurricane territory, nothing like that, no rains, nothing. She said, it's strange, do your neighbors have power? I just peeked and said, no, it doesn't look like anyone has power. She said, okay, you know what? You should just pray and it'll come back. I said, yeah. Then she said, oh, again, this is a conversation. Remind me, if anybody wants to see, I have these conversations saved. Just for, if not for me, I have faith. If my children ask, any SSC kids ask, you're just making this up. I have proof of the conversation from the date from 2 years ago. Yes. So, this Akka says, Anu, something interesting. I remember. She said, yeah, tell me, Akka. All this is, so I'm telling Akka, power is not there, so I can't log onto my laptop and I don't want it, I want to save battery on my phone, I'll check it tomorrow. She goes, yeah, Anu, I remember something. When she was, this Akka is 3-4 years senior to me. So we were not in Anantapur at the same time. She says one of her seniors, who is a super senior to me, apparently this girl thought the Trayambakam mantram, Trayambakam yajamahe sugandim pushtivardhanam, she thought that was an electricity prayer.
Oh.
Now why would somebody think that, you may ask? You may ask, right? In Anantapur we had a tradition, Didi, I'm sure you'll remind me, as soon as I say Trayambakam, auntie is going to her lingam. So that's nice. Play for all of us, auntie. So she tells me, so this Akka, she thought, in the hostel we had a tradition when power would go out, everybody would step outside their rooms. The Anantapur campus, the hostel, it's a rectangular building. And the center you have this quadrangle, you have these plants, 3 floors. When everybody steps out, you kind of see everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? If you can picture it, it's a rectangular hall. So everybody would step out and we would chant the Trayambaka mantram for a few minutes and power would eventually come back on, right? So she, in all sincerity, in all innocence, which some may say, that's how naive is that? No, are you from a village? No. But so much sincerity. She thought, oh, this prayer, if you chant, power will come back. No, why can't that be true? Amrita Varshini Ragam, if you can sing, rain will come. You sing Deepak Rag, then Tansen is on fire. Why can't this happen? Why can't you chant Trayambakam and why can't it, power come back? So when she went back to her hometown, apparently this Akka taught it to her neighbors and they would chant Trayambakam and eventually power has to come back. No? It would come back. So, she's saying, it's so funny that she thought that. When Akka mentioned this, I chuckled. Did some of you, You reacted like that, right? When I said that, I chuckled. I said, yeah, right, seriously, a grown woman thinks it's an electricity prayer. Akka says, no, it doesn't matter, you still pray. Okay, Akka, hang up the phone. This is around 11, I'll have to look at the conversation. It was around 11:15 p.m. the night. Pitch dark in the house. I still remember, if I close my eyes, I can picture where in the house I'm sitting. Everybody's out because the power's been out for a while, everyone's sleeping. I'm sitting in the couch and I'm going, sorry, I'm going to chant it anyway. No expectation. Om Trayambakam yajamahe sugandim pushtivardhanam urvarukamiva bandhanar mrityor mukshiyamamritad. Boom! Exactly, it sounded exactly like that. Power came back. Power came back.
Once?
Once. I chanted it once. Even that boom sound came. It's like Swami was in a rush. She's finishing up, let me turn the power back on. Power came back. That is the power of prayer.
Power of prayer.
Finding signs.
Sincere prayer.
Everything. Yes. And Auntie mentioned sincere prayer. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know if I was sincere at that point. I just thought, let me try it anyway. So when some children, I see a few children, I'm singing Daya karo, kripa karo, karuna sagar deva. I have no idea what I'm saying,
Yeah.
but he's still going to give you his daya, he's still going to give you his kripa, right? Whether you understand the meaning, whether you don't understand the meaning, whether you're saying it sincerely or not, there is power in Namasmarana.
Yes.
So if you don't remember any of my stories, if your only takeaway from this is the power of prayer and looking for these signs in everyday life, then it would have been worth the last 3 hours. Sai Welcome back. Like I said in the previous session, if you're drowsy, sleepy, I don't mind. It's fine. So the topic for this session is Sai, self-confidence and success, the 3 S's, right? So I'll begin with a story. Story about a girl I know. Growing up in Chennai, this girl was my friend. It was 5th grade, in one of the private schools in Chennai, and it was a talent competition that day, school-wide talent competition, and it was this girl's birthday. Her mother taught her a song, and she went up on stage to sing the song. She sang the chorus, and all of a sudden, she realized I have 300 people looking at me, and she got nervous. She just froze, and she left the stage. Fast forward 8-10 years, she's in college. She's waiting in line to audition to be part of the music team. The girl that's in front of her is getting a blasting from the teacher in charge. She gets intimidated. She doesn't even audition. She leaves. And that girl is standing right here in front of you today. She's my friend, yes. Over the past few years, I've traveled to so many different regions, different Sai centers, now internationally. And I'm here to talk to you about self-confidence. Who would have thought? And for the Tamil aunties here, the song my Amma taught me, it was a Tattva Padal. I think Kunjum Sarangai, maybe not. Kunji Kunji Pesi Madi Vayakum Vanjagarin Ulagam Valai Virikum Kunji Kunji Pesi Kunji Kunji. I remember all of the variations now. I sang the Pallavi, went to the first Charanam and I froze. And the funny thing, it was my birthday that day. The whole school is in uniform. I'm the only one in what we call color dress, not in a uniform. Everybody's got their green skirts and white shirts on, and Amma stitches this nice China silk pavada chattai, and I'm having false braid and everything, and I froze. So in case anybody forgot, they definitely remembered me that day. Yes, but so whatever happened, and the audition was to join the music team in Anantapur, in Swami's college. They set the bar up there. And I can't tell you it ended with the rosy story and I made the audition. The next time I sang, no, I was intimidated the rest of the 3 years that I was there. I never bothered to go back to audition. I wasn't part of the music team there today. And today it's only Swami's grace that I'm traveling and representing my alma mater, my beloved alma mater, and even leading some of the projects I would have never imagined. So how did this transition occur, right? Where did this confidence come from, this inspiration and this strength? It came from Sai. And Swami says, living with God is true education. I couldn't agree with that more. Think about it in the worldly sense. Satya Sai Baba is a school dropout. Have you thought of him like that?
Yeah.
Middle school, he was about age of 14. He came back, threw his book bag and said, this is not for me, my devotees are calling me. And a group of devotees followed him. He went to Sri Anjaneyulu's home, sat in that rock and gave his clarion call to mankind. Manasa Bhajare Guru Charanam. Right? Today somebody was asking me upstairs, one of the uncles, about Prema Sai, and somebody's saying Satya Sai Baba is reborn somewhere, and how to believe this, all kinds of news, right? What do you believe, what do you not? And I was telling Uncle this, as I shared earlier this morning, what Howard Murphy asked Swami, when Shri Baba passed on in 1918, for 8 years, you were born in 1926, where were you? And Swami said, I was right here, I permeated the entire universe. But we didn't know of Satya Sai Baba's existence until he said so. Until he told us, I am the Kali Yuga avatar, I am Satya Sai Baba, Nenu Sai Baba. And that didn't happen till 1940. When it is time for us to know, we will know. And not all of us may know at the same time. This is not a race for us to say, I came first, I was in the first batch to be inaugurated. When it's our time, we will know. If you are meant to be with Prema Sai Baba, you will know. Last week, one of the uncles who was introducing us, he was vice president of that region we were in, and his vote of thanks after that, he was talking to us in private, and he said, when people ask about Prema Sai Baba, we should say, you are so great, or you're really so bad that one avatar was not enough. You need another avatar to come and fix you. That's one way to look at it, isn't it? Swami, like I said, in the worldly sense, he is a school dropout. But how much confidence he had in himself, right? Nenu Devudu, and he would say, but he also said, each one of you is God too, right? Where did this confidence come from for Swami? He had all these architects, these physicians, these professionals from all backgrounds come. He would give them interviews, and I heard once, one of the doctors in the super specialty hospital was sharing that apparently there was something they had to work on, a crisis situation at the hospital, and all the doctors were in the interview room with Swami. And Swami said, okay, this is how you can handle it. They're like, no, Swami, but this is a big problem. At some point, Swami steps away to the inner interview room, and these men are continuing to have this discussion. Nice round table conference, like a war room, imagine. This is what needs to happen. The equipment needs to come from here. Swami's with a couple of his attendants, and he tells them, it's all taken care of. They think they're doing it. Let them go. Let them enjoy that. It's all taken care of. He just lets you act like you're the doer. Fine. If you want to do that, go ahead. In the prime of my youth, my late teens and my early 20s, it was Swami that molded me. My Bal Vikas teachers had a big hand to play in that, but it was Swami that molded my character, and he was a great influence. I was like any typical preteen. Now the challenges may have been different. This was the pre-Google internet era. We barely had email facility then, and no selfies, no smartphones, thank God for that. No Facebook. But today, look around, we are looking for validation from everybody else. Body image issues. Teens, talk to any teen, they'll tell you they have issues with body image, self-confidence. Right? Technology is so developed, but we seem to be going backward when it comes to this. I too had a lot of these pressures, but maybe not to this level. Because social media was not prevalent. I think that was the main reason. But remember this morning, for some of the aunties that were here and uncles, I shared about that experience from going from first to last and then back to first. That was a first confidence boost for me from Swami. Doesn't matter what, you have my love. So just knowing that I am special to Swami, and so is everybody else. At that time I didn't know that, I know that now. Knowing that. And that first Pada Namaskar, it was a turning point in my life, if I may say so myself. During my college years, one year we had the Spirit of Unity concerts. Auntie, I think Yamini was present. She handed out the Venas to all the guest artists that year. She told me. That year, Swami was very, very busy. It was during Swami's birthday time. I can't remember if it was 92 or 93. It was around Swami's birthday time. 92, Auntie? Okay, 92, Swami's birthday. And Swami had sent word that he's very busy, and when he comes for the darshan rounds, he wasn't going to accept any letters. He had sent word specifically, and I remember our warden Gemma madam coming into the dormitory. He was staying in one of the sheds. And she came and announced Swami specifically sent word not to keep stretching your hand, giving the letters, just enjoy the darshan, and let Swami go. I had this habit of always carrying a book for darshan, so I don't get distracted. In those days books were allowed, so you don't get distracted and start chatting. And I always had a habit of carrying a handkerchief for Swami. You never know when he'll need it. And that's also another opportunity to interact with Swami, right? So there was always that interest too. So I always had the habit of carrying a handkerchief, and I also always carried a letter for Swami. And most of the time, the contents would just be, thank you Sai Ma for everything. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. This was the pre-Samasta Loka days era, right? It was Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. That's what what problems will I have at age 16, 17? Life's problems. No. It's all taken care of by your parents, your teachers. So it would just be thank you for everything, Loka Samasta. So when the warden made this announcement, I was thinking, should I still take the letter in the hanky or should I leave it in the dorm? And I said, no harm, no foul, I'll take it. I'm not going to, go against the rules and offer the letter to Swami, but I'm going to hold on to it. I happened to get a seat by the aisle. It wasn't the first row. I was in the aisle, so it was in row 3 or 4, depending on how Swami entered. There was always this element of surprise. We didn't know how Swami would come. So Swami's coming from Purnachandra. He was staying in Purnachandra Auditorium those days. So Swami would come from Purnachandra Auditorium. If he enters the ladies' block and makes a right, I'll be on the aisle, so I'll be in the first row. But if it decides to go straight, I'm in the 3rd or 4th row. MS Amma had just sung the previous night, MS Subbulakshmi. I was mentioning the movie Bhakta Meera. She starred in that movie as the heroine, as the protagonist. Swami came, he was very happy with her. She had sung the night before, and Swami materialized Vibhuti for her. He just materialized the Vibhuti and walked straight to me, sitting at the aisle. And he looked at me and motioned as to give him something. It took me a few moments to realize his hands were dirty and he was looking for a handkerchief. So I hurriedly gave him the handkerchief. He wiped his hand and put some of that vibhuti dust on me. And then he looked at me and said, again, he did this. I didn't quite figure out what he was asking for. He pointed to my book and said, Then I realized he was asking for the letter. So I opened the book frantically and gave him the letter. He took the letter and walked around the student block, didn't take any other letters, and he went. And I was thinking, wow, everybody that day knew who I was on the campus. But what did I write? What earth-shattering thing did I write there? Nothing. It was just, thank you, Swami. But small incidents like this, they boost that self-confidence. Here I was thinking, I cannot, but him reaching out like that gave me the confidence. It was the year of my convocation, 1995. Like I mentioned earlier, I would be excited about being in the first row. So I woke up early by 3:30, I had taken my shower, I was waiting in the lines, and I happened to be in the first row. It was the year of my convocation, so I was an ex-student already. So in the ex-student, old student block, I was in the first row. Unexpectedly, one of the teachers comes and tells me, it's Christmas Day today. In those days, Christmas Day in the morning, they'd have the choir from the International Choir. This afternoon, I was talking to one of the sisters who unexpectedly got an opportunity to be part of the choir that last year in 2010. The evenings, Christmas Day evenings, were celebrated as Messenger's Day. That's the day for the alumni from the women's campus, Anantapur students. Now it's October Avatar Declaration Day, but it used to be Christmas Day. And in the evening, we would have special programs by the women students. So for that evening darshan, since I happened to be there, this teacher came up and said, the home science students have baked a cake for Swami. Christmas is Christ's birthday. Since you happen to be here, you're chosen to offer the knife to Swami to cut the cake. So I was given this beautifully decorated knife, with a nice bow and everything. So excited, unexpectedly this blessing comes. It's His grace. Eagerly anticipating Swami's arrival, and sure enough, he comes and stands in front of the cake. He makes small talk. He says, what is this, Swami? It's a cake made by the home science students. And Swami, I'm handing the knife to Swami, except I have the nicely, beautifully decorated, cushiony, velvety flowers and, the ribbon. I'm holding that and pointing the sharp edge to Swami. I did not know that was not the proper protocol. You held it so he would hold. All the decoration is not for me, it's for him. I handed it to him like that. Swami looked at it. At that time I couldn't tell why. He looked at it and looked at me. He took it. He cut the cake. When he returned it to me, he turned the knife and he handed it to me gently. All this while, surrounded by all of these teachers, nobody knew, nobody even noticed what had transpired. But he subtly hinted to me, very gently, this is how you have to give it back, without saying any words. Now think about us. If we were to point something, whether it's to a youngster, an SSC student, somebody who may not be appropriately dressed, how do we do that? How do we communicate that? You have to learn from the Lord. And especially if it's somebody new who's coming for the first time, you just go and, I said, this is not proper decorum in the Sai Center, this is not how you behave. That's a turn-off, that's a big turn-off. Tata bye-bye, sayonara, that person's not coming back. Just by doing that small act, again, these are little things. You may wonder, what does this have to do with self-confidence? It made me feel You're worth it, you're worth it. He's teaching you, he cares enough to give you these lessons. Swami once addressed the 8th class boys in Prashantinalayam. Most of these children had been in Swami's school from primary school, from age 6. The parents entrust the children to Swami. And Swami was addressing them in the hostel and he was telling them a story. It's about this huge forest, heavily wooded forest, filled with tall trees, bushy trees, canopy. And there's this one tree, it's the tallest tree, it's the biggest tree. Swami says, the branches are so wide, very dense, beautiful tree. Suddenly there's a heavy wind, and the wind is blowing, and it's hailing, and it's raining, it's loud, howling winds. On one of the branches, the smallest branch in this tall tree, is perched a beautiful tiny bird. It is sitting there. What is going to happen to this bird? Howling winds. And all these 8th class boys are looking at Swami. Swami, what's going to happen? Now today, one of the kids in the audience, if I ask them what's going to happen, they'll give me a very nice mortalic answer. None of the boys had that answer. They wanted Swami to tell them. Swami said, what happened? The bird flew away. Swami said. I'm sure some of you thought of that answer. Because it's a bird, it can fly away. Swami said, all this time, that bird was not depending on the tree, on the foundation, or the fact that it was the tallest tree. It had faith in its 2 wings. What are the 2 wings? Confidence in itself and faith that it could fly. And we are equipped with that, each of us. Swami had this to say about the bird. Some of the aunties who follow Hindi movies, who used to follow Hindi movies from the earlier days would remember this movie, Do Aankhein Barahat. There's a beautiful song. Oh Ma Sai Ma Tu Kitni Achhi Hai. Swami would ask the students repeatedly to sing this song for him. It goes like this. Tu kitni achhi hai. If you know it, please join along. Tu kitni bholi hai, pyari pyari hai. Oh Ma, oh Ma, Sai Ma. Is how we sang it to Swami. And he would keep asking for the song repeatedly. Didi, did you sing this when you were a student? Did your group sing? Several batches of students have sung this for Swami. The girls started it and then the boys started singing it too, is what I think it is. So one year, it was a tradition that the final years, the outgoing batch of students would get an interview from Swami. It's a gratitude meeting. Think of it like that. We'd offer Swami our gratitude, say, Swami, thank you for all that you've blessed us with, and you're sending us out into this world. And it's mixed emotions. The final years interview, it's bittersweet. You're happy you're going back to your families, but you're leaving your divine mother and father. And Swami would give us these wonderful words of wisdom. He would distribute saris, he would give Pada Namaskar. And typically the girls prepare several songs to offer to Swami. That year, this song was not on their lineup. And this is a trap a lot of us bhajan singers fall into. I've sung it before. I don't want to sing it now. I want to sing a new bhajan every time. I fall into this trap too. Don't like to repeat a lot of my bhajans. Try to sing something new. It's exciting, it's interesting. And Swami encouraged that too. He would ask, Kotta paat leda, kotta bhajan leda, he would ask. But when Swami gave the interview, he said, you're ready with your songs? And the girls were ready. And Swami asked, out of the blue, Oma pata padatara? He asked, will you sing the Oma song? Swami asked. No, the girls were not prepared. And typically, if you've been part of any music program, there's rehearsals, you sit together, you find out what the interludes are, and you're sitting down making these notes. Okay, I come in after 1 tabla cycle, 2 tabla cycles, and then you're ready, you're waiting on the mark, and then you're starting on time, and then there's a tabla player here, you know what I mean. So the girls had no idea. They kind of know the words, they can wing it, but they weren't quite clear. They were scratching their heads, and when Swami asked a second time, the warden turned to the girls and said, girls, sing. There was no saying no to Jenna, madam. So they just started singing. Oma, don't know if it was in the right key, they start singing. The Pallavi, the chorus ends, Oma, Sai Ma. The interlude goes, it goes 2 cycles. That's the stop point, and then we have to pick up the charanam. Somebody missed a beat from the lead team, and they went out of beat. And sometimes that happens in bhajans too. They went out of beat and they were struggling. And what does the Lord do? He's keeping talam. He's keeping beat for us. This was not in my batch, one of my juniors from Atlanta told me this. It was a beautiful story, I thought it was worth sharing. For the rest of the song, Swami kept beat and he helped them finish the song. And he knew the girls would get a sound thrashing for missing that. Now, how can you forget that? You've sung it only 1,000,000 times, how do you mess that up? He turns to the elders, to the warden, to all the teachers, and he says, Chusara, na pillalenta baga padaru. Did you see how beautifully my children sang? And for those of you who don't understand Hindi, the meaning is O Ma Sai Ma, O Mother. It's a movie song meant to the mother of the children in the movie. But here we say, oh mother, you're so tender, you're so innocent, you're so sweet, will I ever find another like you? And the lyrics apply to Swami, so it's okay. We took creative liberty and changed the lyrics up a little bit here and there. Tu Pyar Ka Sagar is another song that's so apt for Swami. But look at Swami, he tells everybody, he doesn't want us to feel low on confidence. He says, look at my children, how beautifully they sang. It reminds me of, I'm a mother and a lot of you in the audience here are mothers. It's like you having your daughter stand by your side and you're doing the tadka for the sambar, you're adding the hingu, you're cutting the vegetables. 5? Okay. You're adding the vegetables, you're doing all of this, and then she's watching you make it. Maybe she'll stir it for a minute or so. And then a guest comes in and you give them a bowl of the sambar and say, my daughter made this sambar. And all she did was to stir it once. That is Swami. That is a lot. Think about it.
Yes.
He is the one who inspires the song. Doesn't matter that it appeared in a movie. He is the one that inspired the song. He's the one that asked for the song. And when we messed up, he's the one that helped us sing it properly. And then he says, look how beautifully my kids sang. Only the Lord can be that way. He said, 5 minutes, Auntie. Let me think. Now, in his discourses, can anybody tell me, has there been a discourse where he said, all you intelligent people, did he begin any discourse like that? Jnanulu, Muktulu, did he start any discourse like that? It has typically been Prema Swarupulara, Divya Atma Swarupulara, right? It was never all you doctors in this medical conference, even if it was a medical conference, embodiments of divine love. If the Lord of the universe chose to see each of us as the Atma, how dare we look at ourselves as this low self of ourselves, right? Do we know better than the Lord? Self-introspection is good. This is not about coming back and saying, oh, the girls should have gone back and gone, oh, I should always be ready. With Swami, you're ever ready. He's like this photographer. You don't know when he's going to say ready or cheese. You have to be ever ready to get that picture taken. You have to have self-introspection. I'm sure the girls would have gone back and said, you never know when Swami will ask for which song. We have to know exactly how each song has to come, which means we have to, up the ante, individual practices, we have to work on that. Introspection is good. But beating yourself up and going, I'm not good enough, I failed Swami, that's not at all what Swami stood for. I talked about that a little bit yesterday with the self-deprecation. I'll have to skip all of that. Trying to think one more. In life, we face many ups and downs. I received a question about a challenge. Maybe I'll address that and then we can finish, Auntie. Is that okay? Yes. A couple minutes. Yeah. We face many ups and downs, and I went very much into the downs in the morning. I promise if there's another session, no tissues. I hope you're laughing and your tummy hurts. Laughing. Swami inspired me to make that happen. Knowledge and skill can only come to your rescue to a certain level. You could be a PhD scholar, double PhD, you could be double masters, you could have all of that. But in a moment of crisis, it's not going to come to your rescue. Right? It's the spiritual strength that we receive, whether it's in the Balvikas classes, in the study circles, you never know. In a satsang like this, you have this aha moment. That is what is going to see us through life. So let's focus on that, and be centered on Swami and his values. So this question I received is, how do you accept challenges in everyday life with total surrender and devotion? If you had heard my session in the morning, you would know that I don't have total surrender and devotion. I am a doubting Thomas also. Sometimes when things happen and I go, oh Swami, why did this happen? But almost always, after some time, it might be years, it might be weeks, months, the realization does set in that I have no control. That he is in control at all times. And an incident comes to mind. I heard this in a satsang on Radio Sai when I'm traveling, when I'm driving. I try to listen to, just so my mind is not distracted. I listen to a lot of satsangs on Radio Sai, like Auntie Nalina does too. I heard one of the brothers share in a talk that Swami approached an elderly devotee. Her name, last story Auntie, I'm done with this. Her name is, I talked about her a little bit yesterday, Rani Subramaniam. Swami would fondly call her Rani Ma. It was in the early years that she had come to Swami, and Swami asked her, Rani Ma, do you have any domestic problems? Since the question is about challenges, thought I will share this. She said, yes Swami, I'm a housewife with 2 children, of course, problems galore. And Swami says, I know, I feel for you. When you're sleeping and you have a dream, when you're dreaming, do you realize it's a dream? She says, no Swami, in the dream it seems so real. And then when you wake up, oh Swami, when I wake up I realize, oh, it's been a dream all along. And I let it go. Swami said, I am telling you now, this life is a dream. You know that quote? Life is a game, play it. Life is a challenge, meet it. Why did Swami not say life is a dream, wake up from it? If you are dreaming, he should have said life is a dream. That makes sense, right? This brother shared that, and that's beautiful. Why did he not say life is a dream, wake up from it? You'll eventually wake up from it, but you have to realize that you're dreaming, and this is not real life. So Swami said, when these challenges come, tell yourself, Neti, this is not it. This is just a dream. It's going to pass. Like Krishna said, this too shall pass. So if we can remember that, we can face any challenge in life. And the final S, which I didn't touch upon at all, if we face every challenge in life like this, we are bound to be successful, aren't we?
Yes.
Thank you all for that. Came through for us. Yes. We were challenging him with the Triambakam.
Yes.
He waited when I was a single person chanting it. He waited for the chant to finish. He came through for us within what? Few microseconds?
Who challenged?
That's the best friend. Sorry?
Who challenged?
We never challenged.
Yeah.
Okay.
It never happened.
If you say so. All right.
Be
So,
brave.
huh?
Be brave.
Yes. I know. So the topic now is Swami as your best friend, right? Most of us in this time and age have Facebook friends, Instagram followers, right? I'm not on Instagram or Snapchat, so I don't even know how that works, but I know you have a bunch of followers. And a lot of them you've never met in person, and you probably never will, right? And Facebook actually reminds you that you've been friends with someone for 5 years, 10 years. And then you go, oh, I haven't said hi to this person in 5 years. Hey, how are you doing? Facebook reminded me. Look at that. You know, that happens. We go through that all the time. And a lot of us, youth mainly, are into taking selfies, and we post it, we share on YouTube, and we wait to see how many likes we get on Facebook. We are excited how many hits on YouTube. And for those who say, well, I'm not on social media, I challenge you to pick up your phone and see how many contacts you have on your phone. I'm sure it's one too many, right? Despite all of this, depression is at its peak today. They say anxiety, panic attacks. Right? Why is that? If we have more friends, we have more Facebook friends, online friends, in person, why is that? Why is depression at its peak, especially among children and youth? Swami explains this beautifully, and this was before social media picked up. He explained this, as always, you know, Swami has these ways of connecting to a 6-year-old and a 60-year-old, the same. He didn't have discourses for children, separate discourses for now. Okay, you're all senior citizens, I'll give you a separate talk. It was the same discourse inside Kulvanthal or in the Hillview Stadium, and it connected with the 6-year-old and the 70-year-old alike, right? He tells a story. He says, think about this very traditional, conservative, vegetarian, maybe even a Brahmin man, who goes into in India, in South India we call it military hotel. What that is you get cheap non-vegetarian food and cheap liquor. So think of this orthodox vegetarian man, Brahmin man, who goes to this restaurant, who goes to a military hotel. Thank you, Auntie. Thank you so much. I feel bad for making you. Imagine he goes up to this military hotel and orders idli sambar. And the waiter comes and tells him, did you look at the board outside? It says military hotel. We serve cheap non-vegetarian food. You're asking for idli sambar? Go to the Udupi hotel next door. And Swami says that's what we do. The reason
we have all these hundreds of Facebook friends, and you know, you post all these, you have a YouTube channel, all of that, and you still feel alone in the night, you're looking at your phone to see who's going to message me. The reason you're doing that is, you are going into this military hotel, and you're asking for idli sambar. And he says, in the hotel of this world, is written outside, Anityam Asukam Loke. Impermanent, you're not going to derive happiness or bliss, or it's Anityam, it's not complete. This world, you're not going to get your answer from this. But isn't this where we are looking for our friends? If I asked you now who are your friends, Swami will be one of the friends, but you have several others in there, right? And there is only one, I mean, the answer is simple, the topic should have given it away. There is only one true friend, and that is God. And Swami explains this he demonstrated this in a beautiful way to the primary school children. The little children, he would ask, hey boy, how many brothers? And the boy would say, Swami, 2 brothers. Hey, you should say, all are my brothers. And the boy would say, yes, Swami. How many sisters? Now he's getting smart. He's like, Swami, all are my sisters. How many wives? Swami, all are my wives. this really has happened. Everyone, including Swami, laughed. Yes. But, you know, jokes apart, God is your only true friend. And when he'd say, how many friends? He would expect, Swami, you are my only friend. That's what he would expect from the students. I promised to share some funny stories because I don't want you falling asleep. It's the end of the day. But before we get to that, I promise we'll get there in 5 minutes. You can tell by now I like slow bhajans, I like Petas Ragams, I like the Sindhu Peravis, and I like the sob stories. They help me connect. So a couple of those. Swami had a childhood friend. His name was Sri Satyanarayana. Swami was getting old, and naturally his friend was getting old also. Now this uncle, he used to live in a town not too far from Puttaparthi, maybe Bukkapatnam or somewhere. And he developed some very strange illness which caused his face to blow, different parts, you know, it was bloating and he had these rashes. It looked dreadful. Now his grandson was a student at that time, and he felt probably Grandpa won't make it, and given the fact that Swami was classmates with him, I should probably let Swami know. So he sent word through one of his classmates who happened to be a personal attendant for Swami. And Swami said, no, don't worry, he'll be fine. Swami sends Vibhuti for this uncle, and it's administered, and within a few days he gets better. And life goes on. And one day the grandson remembers, you know, Swami would probably want to know how he's doing. And he was wheeling his grandfather near Yajur Mandiram, and he came up there and he's saying, I just wanted to let Swami know that grandfather's feeling better. Within moments, Swami comes out, and the carpet is rolled out. Swami comes out, comes to him. Imagine this. Swami's friend is in a wheelchair, and Swami too is in a wheelchair. Both of them are meeting. And this uncle says, Swami, thank you for the Vibhuti, I'm feeling better. Swami, I thought you won't remember me. He says, I thought you won't remember. For those of you who understand Telugu, Swami says, Satyanarayana, ninna nenu marachite, nanna nene marachite. If I forget you, it's like me forgetting myself. Now, does this apply only to this uncle because he was his classmate? Or this applies to all of us? An elderly lady, you know, in Prashanti they used to call it the buddhi line. I hated that term. I didn't mind it until my grandmother made it to that line. So, there was an elderly lady, you know, there are a lot of these aunties who lived there, many of whom were young widows. You know, society shunned them, and they came to Swami. Swami drew them. One of the aunties, Meenakshi Amma, in East Prashanti, I still remember, I don't know the number, but from the mandir when you're looking, she's in that first floor, second floor, first house on the left. She said she was in some remote village in Andhra, and Swami came in her dream, and she was a young widow, and she was shunned by society. She had no idea who this person in the orange robe, the thick mop of hair was. Swami came in her dream and said, Nitya Kalyanam Pachatoranam Vastava. Every day it's like a wedding. Every day you'll have these festive, these toranams, that is a toranam. Will you come? She had no idea who this person was. He kept coming in her dreams, and eventually Swami led her to him, and auntie was making garlands for the interview room. And Amma and I got to help this auntie until she passed on. We were helping her with that duty in the mornings. Imagine how from there he draws these people. Anyway, I got sidetracked. Like this auntie, there was another elderly lady. She was visually impaired. Over time, she lost her eyesight. One afternoon for darshan, the sevadals brought her a little early. So it wasn't darshan time yet, but this auntie happened to be ready early. You know, sevadals will bring them in the wheelchair. This auntie sitting, Swami suddenly came early that day. You know, the token lines haven't been let in, so there's no crowds, just a handful of people. Swami comes in. She has no idea. Suddenly she can smell Swami, she can sense him. Swami, Nova, she calls out, Swami, is that you? Swami comes, holds her hand. She said, Swami? Even before Swami, yes, Nene. Swami says, yes, it's me. She holds Swami's hand and she says, Swami, what is this? You have lost weight. Sannagayappa, what is this? You have lost weight. This kind of friendship. That is true friendship, isn't it? In the Navavidha Bhakti, the Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Vandanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, then Atmanivedanam. Right? Sakhyam is friendship. And that's the penultimate before surrender. Atmanivedanam. That's how much of an importance it's given in this Navavidha Bhakti. 9 types of devotion. Swami himself explains how to make the best use of this avatar. A lecturer, once when he was in private with Swami, had a private audience with Swami. He asks Swami, Swami, can you please tell me how to make best use of this avatar? You know, you're here, so easily accessible to us. How do we make best use of this? Swami said, simple, just love me. What a simple, yet beautiful, but very difficult thing to do when you're going through trouble. Right? Very easy to blame him. The answer is simple, just love me, is what he said. So how can we develop love for this God who maybe some of us haven't seen? This is an abstract form. Or if you follow a different faith, Islamic tradition, there's no form. How do you develop love for this God? How is that even possible? And Hislop asked Swami this question many, many years ago. And Swami tells him, and when Swami was having this conversation with him, Hislop had a tape recorder. He would record some of those sessions because Swami would speak in Telugu a lot, chase Telugu, so he would record it to go back and ask Kasturi or someone to translate it for him. So Swami looked at the tape recorder and said, hey, what is this? Before I can get the answer, what is this? He said, Swami, it's a tape recorder, it records whatever you speak and it captures that and I can go back and listen to it. And Swami said, sorry? Cassette. Before the CDs came into existence. Yes, cassette player. Yes. So, you click and then it opens up, you put the tape in, check, and rewind, then the tape gets stuck and then you clean the head. Yes, the fun days. That's what I grew up listening to. So, Swami asked him, how long have you had this? He said, Swami, I picked it up a few. You used to get these Walkman type of things, little mini tape recorders in those days. That's how I remember I recorded the first few Prashanti Mandir bhajans ever. I recorded in those, fond memories of that. So Swami asked him, how long have you had this? He said, Swami, for a few months. Before that, did you care if it fell on the road or if it was in the store, whether it had any scratches? No, Swami. So you developed an attachment for this after you purchased it and it became yours, right? Swami said, but God, take him to be yours. He is my God. Not in an attachment sense of way, but I belong to him, he belongs to me. Isn't that why we are attached to our children, our mothers? Nobody can take their place. Swami explained it so beautifully. It's to give us this feeling of the belonging that God takes this form. Yesterday I talked about why does the avatar even come down, descend to our level. And Swami gives another beautiful analogy. He says, a devotee, once Swami asked him to come for 70th birthday celebrations. So it was a senior devotee from Bangalore, and he said, yes, Swami, it's so nice of you to invite me. Swami said yesterday, I don't send anybody personal invitations, but Swami asked this gentleman, will you come for my 70th birthday? He said, yes, Swami, I will come. But when he went back to his hometown, he finds out 2 of his close relatives are getting married that day. So he's in a fix. What are we going to do? I said yes to Swami. Swami invited me, and I have these 2 weddings to attend on that same day. He was debating. Swami comes in his dream that night. And he says, I don't paraphrase, so I'd like to read what Swami told him. See, your heart is like a mansion with several rooms. One room we have family and friends, office work, property, etc. And in the fourth room you have Swami. If this is the way you keep your mansion, Swami will visit every once in a while. But will you reside there permanently? You must be God-centered and give first preference to Swami. Everything else should come later. And that's why Swami says, joy. He says, Jesus first, others next, yourself last. This uncle got his answer immediately. He made his plans and went to Puttaparthi to attend 70th birthday celebrations. Sometimes, students would say, oh, I'm going through a dry spell, Swami's ignoring me, Swami's angry with me. And it would appear that Swami is ignoring them. All of a sudden, Swami will be all pally and friendly. And then Swami would say, I am not Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra is the sage who is known for going to fits of rage. And he's the one who gave us the Gayatri Mantra. But imagine that. And Swami would say, I am not Vishwamitra, I am Vishwas Mitra. Vishwa is the universe, the friend to this entire universe. Swami's puns and his play of words, it's just beautiful. So now I promised some fun stories. So here they come. A few glimpses to the fun side of Swami. And we didn't call this Sai humor. This is Sai as your best friend. Right? That's what this session is about. So my aim with sharing these stories is not that I went into research and found these stories. It's to show you, to help you fall in love with Swami if you haven't already. It's to help you at the end of this session, if you fall in love a little more with Swami, mission accomplished, right there. Professor Kasturi, I keep going back to him. I don't have memories of interacting with him, but my mother tells me I've taken his blessings as a young child. I wish I remembered one time Swami sent for him. He was the editor of the Sanatana Sarthi at that time. Swami sent for him and said, this daily newspaper in Andhra Pradesh, South Indian state where Swami is from, they want to publish an article about you and talk about your work with the Sanatana Sarthi. So they want an article about it, and they also want a picture. And I will take a picture. Slowly he could see the excitement building in Kasturi uncle's face. I will take the picture. I have a brand new camera. You want to go get ready? Kasturi uncle is very excited. He goes marches back to his room in South Prashanti or East Prashanti, wears a nicely starched white cotton dhoti, and does his pattai, the pattai and all of that. Clean shaven probably, and then he comes back. Swami says, you're ready? Yes. I think this lighting is good here. Let you stand here and I'll focus this. Yes, perfect. Ready? Swami clicks the picture and mouse lands on Kasturi uncle's neck and he shrieks. Yikes! Turns out it was a cotton mouse, not a real mouse. It was cleverly tucked inside this camera. It's like Jack in the Box, something like that. And Swami clicked, it would go. Swami was pulling a prank. Nothing is ever a prank with Swami, right? So what is the underlying message? He said, people don't want to read the article to know about how great you are. It's about Swami. Yes. And if he said that about Professor Kasturi, who's known as the Valmiki and the Vyasa of the Kali age, where do people like me stand, right? Insignificant. And this Professor Kasturi has been so blessed that Swami would just unannounced walk into his home, close his eyes from behind and go, guess who? Like a friend. Imagine that. Another beautiful story. I heard this again on radio side. This was in the 60s. In those days, Swami would take long car rides from Puttaparthi to Vrindavan, Vrindavan to Kodaikanal to Chennai, to even to Bombay. And there was one not elderly devotee, there was one devotee who was, Swami's trusted driver in those days. So one time Swami said, we are going to go to Kodaikanal from Vrindavan, and this devotee drove Swami. So Swami had specifically instructed the people there. I know when this was in Kodai or near Madurai. Swami was going to Kodai, and somehow a devotee in Madurai got wind that Swami was there. And when Swami came to know, he said, okay, now one person knows, now the whole world knows. It's like Swami was incognito over there, okay, going shopping. Imagine Swami is wearing a scarf and trying to cover his hair. Swami doesn't want a big crowd there, because the reason for that is he didn't want to inconvenience the devotee in whose home he was staying. They couldn't accommodate such big crowds. And even in that, look at his concern. So Swami said, no, Before we know it, at the break of dawn, there'll be hundreds of people here. Poor man, he'll have to prepare for all that. No, we have to leave. The driver said, Swami, you're giving me such short notice. I have to rest. It's a long drive back. I don't think I'm in any shape. They say a sleepy driver is worse than a drunk driver, because at least when you're drunk, you're a little bit careful. You know you've done something wrong. When you're sleepy, you just fall asleep. So he said, no, Swami, I'm in no position to drive. Swami says, no, and we're leaving now. They get in the car. They drive for a little bit. After a couple of hours, he dozes off and the car swerves. He says, Swami, I'm not driving. He pulls over. You think Swami is stuck, right? Swami says, oh, no, keep driving a little bit further. He said, no, Swami, I have to sleep. It's not safe. I have to get you back there safely. Takes a nap. And then a couple of minutes, he feels something slithering in his feet. He hears a hiss. He freaks out. He jumps out of the car and he's looking for the snake. This is in the middle of the forest, Koda area, that area you're coming down, Madurai, that area, it's forest, thickly. He's very scared. Swami's like, get back in, more snakes are going to get in. Then he gets, no snake, nothing, it'll do nothing to you, Swami's here, don't worry, drive. So he's focusing, checking everywhere, and he's driving. He reaches Vrindavan, and he gets down in the Vrindavan ashram and he's frantically searching for the snake. Swami's like, what are you looking for, snake? There was never a snake. It's another prank Swami pulled, so he'll get him back there safely. Think about, a friend would do this to you, right? He'd pull a prank like this. This was in the old Mandir days. Some of the permanent residents, Papam, they would retire and go to live with Swami, and Puttaparthi was, for everything was there. Suddenly Swami said, we are going to go to Tirupati, and they got very excited. He took a few of these permanent devotees with him, and they were a little tempted. He said, Swami, I know we are permanent residents in Parthi, but we are in Tirupati, where Balaji, the Lord of Seven Hills, lives. Can we go have his darshan, Swami? He says, no, I'm right here. Why do you have to go there? But Swami, this Tirupati, Swami, the richest god, the biggest hundi, world famous Aishwarya Rai came here for blessing, Swami. This was before Aishwarya Rai. But Swami says, go. He just says go. So these few devotees, I think it was 3 uncles, they decide, such a rare opportunity, let's hike up. And then they're going, Govinda. And they're hiking up the hills, and as they're getting closer, the shouts, it's getting more intense, Govinda. As they enter the sanctum sanctorum, it's getting even louder. Everybody's going, Govinda. And they're looking and they're baffled. Why? They don't see anything in the sanctum sanctorum. It's blank. And they look at each other. Everybody else is going like this. These 3 people are looking at each other. And they come back. Swami says, Bhaga Darshana Vaida? They didn't know what to say. They said, Swami, we couldn't see. I told you Venkateswaran is right here. Why did you have to go there? And then they said, Swami, we should have listened to you. Swami said, no, I just wanted you to know that God is one. And they everywhere go. And then Swami sends them probably VIP passes to go have nice darshan. They end up going and having nice darshan. Again, a nice prank he played. Once a group of youth, Auntie, 5-minute heads up please. A group of youth from Hyderabad.
There's lots of time.
Okay. But when we start talking about Swami,
Yes.
yes. A group of youth from Hyderabad went on a pilgrimage to see Swami in Puttaparthi. Like we go, national pilgrimage, like Edmonton devotees like that. This group of youth went to see Swami, and Swami appeared to be ignoring them. They're like, we have to do something to get his attention. What can we do? And they go, let's do Satcharita Parayana. This was before the Tapovanam days. So the life story of Shirdi Baba. So they decide to read it overnight. So they're like, tomorrow morning Swami has to call us and give us an audience. So that night, they sit down, they shower, they sit down, they read the Satcharita non-stop, the 50 chapters, they read it. And they come for darshan and they're like praying, Swami, you have to come. So Swami comes there, but Swami doesn't appear happy. He's irate, he's angry, visibly upset. He says, because of you I couldn't sleep all night. But though he was scolding them, he was telling them, I heard your prayers, you kept me up all night with your chanting and I was up there listening. A good friend that he is. Oh, this one's funny. You're going to love this. So there was a Gujarati student who didn't understand any Telugu, besides Ledu, Urdu or something like that. He was a very good student. He was in the commerce department. When Swami, Swami used to have these veranda sessions in between darshan and bhajans. He would just come out for these casual strolls. He would make small talk, what we think is small talk with these students in the veranda. Swami comes up to one boy and he says, what rank did you get? Oh, Swami, 5th rank. Oh, why only 5th rank? Are you a good student? You're studying well? Swami, then he asked the lecturer who's following him, is he a good student? Yes, Swami. This one? No, Swami, he needs to work. Then he points to this Gujarati boy and he says, is he a good student? And now this lecturer speaks Telugu. Swami tells him, Baga chadavatam ledan cheppu. Tells him, tell me, he doesn't study well. So now the boy doesn't understand Telugu, right? Poor boy. And he says, no, Swami, he's not a good student. Now this boy is baffled. Huh? He's shocked. Swami says, why doesn't he study well? No, Swami, he's very distracted. He doesn't pay attention in class. This boy is shocked even more. What rank does he get? Oh, Swami, he fails. This boy is shocked even more. Turns out this boy is the 1st rank holder in the class. And he's wondering, why is this lecturer, ratting me out like this? I didn't even do anything. And then Swami says, he's saying he gets 1st rank. You're saying he's failing. And Swami nods. He says, say that he copies and gets 1st rank. So then this lecturer says, Swami, he must be copying. That's why he gets 1st rank. And this poor boy is shocked. Swami turns to the lecturer and said, if he's copying, what are you doing as a lecturer? So who was the joke on? The boys have a lot of these funny stories. The girls, we just don't share them. Hapsi ki baat, right, Vidhi? Yes. I'll share one with the girls too a little later. The Parthi hostel, I think it was the higher secondary school or the college, I'm not sure. They opened a new store. Inside the hostel, the students have needs, right? They may need stationery and bucket and different things. So they opened a store. It is just an excuse to get Swami to come there and say, Swami, you have to come and inaugurate everything. Dispensary, come and inaugurate. Store, come and inaugurate. It's just a bahana to get Swami to come. Swami said, fine, I'll come, but I'm very busy. I can't spend much time there. So the boys decided, Swami has agreed to come. Let's not blow this. If Swami says, if Swami is kind enough to give Padnamskaram, we quickly take Padnamskaram and we quickly move. No saying, Swami, can you help me with this, my problem, my grades, none of that. So it was a pact. Everybody agreed that they would be at their best behavior, they'll quickly take their Padnamskaram and move away. So one by one, the boys go take Padnamskaram. There's this one boy who gets down on his knees. He just won't get up. These other boys are fretting and fuming. They're like, did we have a deal? You were not supposed to do this. And then when he gets up, he has tears in his eyes and his nose is red. They're like, really, this is not the moment for you to be emotional, man. We had a deal. Now Swami's going to, not give us Padnamskar. And Swami just continues to give Padnamskar to the others, and Swami just leaves, and they go to this boy. They say, what were you thinking? You almost deprived some of the others of an opportunity. What if Swami had walked out? He said, Arey, I tried to take Padnamskar, I was getting ready to leave. Swami grabbed my nose between his big toe and the second toe, and he wasn't letting me go. Who but a friend would do this? Okay, just when you think you're recovering from that, another one. I'm going to hit you with this. Sometimes Swami would make these unscheduled stops in his road trips. He was passing through a small town. Now the devotees were very smart. They knew the only way to attract Swami is with discipline and devotion. So they had been doing chanting, and they decided by the main road, they know Swami has to, in order to get from town A to town B, he has to pass through that road. He had no other choice. So they set up a pandal, they made this nice area. The devotees were sitting in a nice orderly fashion. They had set up a stage, they had a chair for Swami, a nice altar. And sure enough, Swami stopped the entourage. He said, stop, look how nicely they are sitting, so devoted in the hot sun, in this Andhra hot sun. I have to go bless them. Swami gets down, and quickly the team follows in. And one of the members in Swami's entourage was from that town. And Swami said, why don't you give a small talk? Let's make the devotees happy. I'll sit and give them darshan. Now this uncle is so overwhelmed. He's like, Swami, this is my town, you came here, the devotees are so happy. He's talking like me, and he won't stop talking. And the devotees are, you're lucky. I said you can fall asleep if you want to. This is under the hot sun, and the people are sitting on the floor. It's so Swami's watching this. He sees that they don't want to be disrespectful and get up and leave. And this uncle can't talk. He's talking about Swami and Swami's love. So Swami is, what am I going to do? What do you think Swami did? He waved his hand, and everybody went, oh. Swami waved his hand and a huge kalkand, sugar candy. And he beckoned to this man, and this man too was shocked. He's looking at Swami. Swami says, come. And he sticks it in his mouth, and Swami leaves. Blessed, he bends down to take Padnamskar, Swami leaves. So, he's forced to end his talk. Look at Swami's quick wit, He didn't hurt this gentleman's feelings. He blessed him with the sugar candy, and he relieved all the devotees. Isn't that beautiful? Just picture that. Again, it stemmed from his love for the devotees. He didn't want them sitting in the hot sun. Seems 2 boys were once appointed to clean the lift, the elevator in Purnachandra auditorium. When Swami started using the wheelchair, they wanted to make it easy for Swami to go up and down the Purnachandra auditorium. So one afternoon, between morning darshan and afternoon darshan, these 2 boys were getting ready to clean the lift. The area outside, inside, they were wiping it clean. And the boys talked, they said, okay, while I'm cleaning inside, you have to clean even that area where you push the buttons. You stand outside and make sure nobody comes and pushes a button, I don't want anything to happen. They're cleaning the grooves. They had a pack, this other boy standing outside, this boy is inside, with his back to the entrance and he's cleaning. All of a sudden, there's this jerky movement and the lift goes boom, boom, boom. He's so wild and he steps out and then who does he see next to this boy? Swami. Swami came and he said, push the button. This boy goes, no Swami, there's a boy. He's like, you push it. So he makes him push it and quickly turns it off. So this boy's coming out to yell and he can't say anything. It is Swami standing there. Swami is just pulling a prank, just pulling a prank with the boys. Once in the interview room, this was written in one of the books I read, I forget which one this was from. In South India, I'm sure it's there in North India too, you have this tradition of mundan, offering first hair that the baby is born with. So in the South India, we do a complete shave, you do a full mottai, gundu, it's called in Telugu. So there was this young family with a baby. They were waiting for Swami to just cut a few locks of this baby's hair. And it was a group interview. A few families were invited. And Swami beautifully takes his scissors, he blesses the child and he cuts a tuft of hair. And there was a Westerner in that room. He said, Swami, can you cut my hair too? And Swami says, I am Baba, not barber. Such quick wit, right? Swami tells us students, when you go home on vacation, you have to be like street lambs, not like street dogs. I'm training you, I'm giving you all this wealth of information. As soon as you go home for vacation, don't go start watching movies and getting into all these bad habits. You tell us students. There were these boys, they were on vacation, went back to their hometowns, and one boy was very tempted when his friends invited him to go watch a movie. He went to watch a movie. Intermission, he went to use the restroom, and after using the restroom, when you go to wash your hands, he happened to look in the mirror and he realized from his pocket he could see that he had a picture of Swami. And he picked out the picture and he felt guilty. So what he did, he had Swami's picture. Oh, I didn't bring it. So Swami's picture is facing this way. He turned the picture around. So the calendar is now facing upside. Puts it back in his pocket. Merrily goes and watches the rest of the movie and he's happy. He's going back home. No harm, no foul. The rest of the vacation goes great. He goes back to Puttaparthi. There's that little bit of guilt. When you do something wrong, you know. You know the all-knowing. How can you fool the all-knowing? Like I tried to fool him with getting the sari this morning I was sharing. He goes back to Puttaparthi and Swami, sure enough, now everybody likes to sit in the front, right? This boy is trying hard to sit, closer to where the cars are parked near that area. Of course, Swami takes the trouble and goes there. And Swami looks at him and the boy sitting next to him. And he tells the boy sitting next to him, not the boy who was watching the movie, not the boy the story is about. He tells this other boy, Emtra, half movie chupichao. Why, Ra? You only showed me half the movie. And he's asking. And who does he ask? He asks the other boy this question. Again, like my story, 8 is a lucky number. Remember from the morning?
Yes.
So this other boy goes, what? Half the movie, yeah? No, I watched the whole movie. Then after darshan, these 2 boys said, hey, what was that about? And then this other boy goes, actually I went to watch a movie, halfway through the movie I flipped Swami's picture. But was it just a prank? But what a beautiful lesson he drove to these boys. Would they have ever done that again? It seems that the super specialty hospital was just inaugurated. Swami was so excited. These were like toys for Swami, all of this equipment, medical equipment. Swami called a few boys that were in the interview room and he said, boys, go check out all the equipment. It seems there's a heart-lung machine, there's something that scans your brain, there's this machine, that machine. But this Baba only, I am your mind-checking machine. Swami himself said that. One story from Anantapur. You must have heard these stories or watched videos of boys rushing like mad horses to have Swami's darshan. And once the boys tripped over an elderly gentleman, his glasses broke, and there was a gentleman in the group who was tripped over and he happened to be a police officer. And he complained to Swami, he said, what is this, Swami? The boys are so indisciplined, you're so proud of your boys and look how indisciplined they are. And Swami's fiercely protective mother, he came to their rescue and he said, in the outside world, people rush like this to see movie stars, to see pop artists. They are mad for Swami. If there's any pitchy in the world, any madness you can have in this world, pitchy, love for God, madness for God is the most beneficial and least harmful, Swami said. Beautiful, isn't it? So when it was the time when the boys were rushing like this, and Swami once scolded them. He said, no, you shouldn't run like this. There are so many elders. Gemma Madam, our warden, was a stickler for discipline and perfection. And Swami came towards the lady's side. She said, Swami, our girls are very well behaved. They don't run like the boys. In fact, Swami, in the Anantapur college, even a male mosquito cannot enter the hostel. The poor watchman was a good 2 miles away from all of us. Which is why, if in case you're wondering, why do you girls have to get scared and step out to do the Trayambakam? Because it was all girls. And this is the middle of, Rayalaseema heat. Snakes would slither. Several girls have seen snakes in their rooms. So we were scared, right? That's why the Trayambakam prayer. So this one man in the hostel is a watchman and he's literally at the door. He can't come in. So she was very proudly telling Swami, Swami, even a male mosquito cannot enter the campus, Swami. That's how disciplined our girls are. And she said, Swami, please come to the hostel. Swami said, you just said even male mosquito cannot come. How can they come? That's why I'm not coming to the hostel. While he said that, this was shared during the Golden Jubilee. Maybe you might remember in the video segment that they showed. It's a beautiful video, a 10-minute video. And one of our current teachers, she was a couple of years senior to me. She was still a student at that time. She shared that the last time Swami ever visited the Anantapur campus was in 1989. And for years he hadn't visited. So in 1999, this has nothing to do with Swami as a friend, it's just a side story. So in 1999, they figured, this is no anniversary to celebrate. 10 years of Swami not visiting the campus. So we need to do something to get his attention. What can we do? So they decided they would do a Padayatra. They would walk from the Anantapur campus all the way to Prashantinagari. And then they realized we'd have to do overnight, a few hours in the dark, and Swami does not approve of that. He's very protective of the women students. He empowered us. The first college he opened was a women's college. And he encouraged us to learn Vedas. But he would not have approved of ladies walking in the dark alone, unsafe. He was very protective of us. Because the students, our parents trust us and entrust us to Swami. So they decided, okay, let's do just the last segment from Dharmavaram to Puttaparthi. We'll walk those 14 kilometers or something. We should be able to cover that during the day. They decide to make this hike and they reach just during bhajans. And they're given good seating. Shauryangi makes them sit in a nice place. And Swami comes out from bhajans. One of the teachers is trying to get Swami's attention. Swami, mem nadichukoni vacham Swami. Swami, we walked and came to see you. And Swami said, nadichukoni raavakkarledu vangaru. Swami baatallo nadiste chalu. He said, you don't have to walk and come long distances to see me. Walk in the path I have shown you. That is enough. Beautiful, isn't it? Only the Lord can know this. Back to some fun stories. This was in the early years. Several boys had come to give their examinations to join to apply for to join Swami's college. And Swami, he has this code. We can question it sometimes, even in the organization we question why these guidelines, why do I need to follow this dress code? Why do I need to wear a dupatta? Or why can I not come in shorts? Dress code applies to men and women equally, right? You can come in shorts, and women not encouraged to come in sleeveless. It applies to both. So there was this one boy, and Swami did not like boys having long hair or long sideburns. Many boys did not have mustache because Swami wanted that clean student look, right? Sattvic, it helps you focus. So there's one boy who had given his entrance examination, who had nice flowy hair. He had this whole Agassi feel going in those days, in the 80s, maybe inspired by Andre Agassi. Swami came to him during the darshan lines and he looked at him and said, Swami, I've applied to join a college. Oh, very nice. Girls' college or boys' college? Jokes apart. Swami had this habit of chewing pan in the early days. Some of the old pictures you can see a little bit like a lipstick. You'll see his teeth with these marks in between. Like there's a beautiful bhajan. Sai Mukunda Mukharavinda Madhura Manohara Mukharavinda. One of the lines. Tambula Ranjita Mukharavinda Mandasmita Mukha Mukharavinda. Tambula Ranjita, one who used to love eating pan with chunam. So there was a vendor in a place called Tadapatri. There was this gentleman who had a special kind of chunam. It's like a lime paste that you put in the betel leaves, and it's supposed to help with digestion. They say a lot of old timers in South India, especially the north, is called pan. They have this habit of chewing pan after the meal. They say it helps with digestion. But so Swami had the habit of chewing pan, right? So this gentleman would bring the special paste for Swami, and he would bring it. There was a special container, a nice little silver box. Swami would have these pretty small leaves. In fact, some of the boys had duty to look after that box, that betel leaf box. That was their duty, like altar duty. He had betel leaf box duty, their duty. This boy had the duty of looking after that thing. So, there were betel leaves in there, and this vendor had come from Tadapatri. He brought the chunam and he was waiting for Swami to come out and for him to offer that to Swami. While he was waiting, Swami was taking his own sweet time, probably solving a crisis for somebody in the interview room. He was waiting outside and he was getting impatient, so he opened Swami's pan box. He took a piece of pan, put some chunam, and he put it in his mouth. Kasturi uncle, his jaw dropped. He's like, this is blasphemy. I mean, you don't do this, that belongs to the Lord. Several times Swami himself has taken his water, silver tumbler, and given to people who are coughing and say, drink the water. And if they don't drink it, Swami will say, see, you see me as separate from you. I'm seeing you're one of me and you're seeing the deaf. Swami would get angry, visibly upset. But he was like, this is not done. You just don't take from, Swami's plate like that. You don't do that. This man brushed it aside. He said, no, Swami won't care. Swami won't make a big deal out of this. So sure enough, after some time, Swami comes out. He doesn't address the situation. He says, Swami, I brought this for you. Ah, thank you, Swami. And he mixes it for Swami. Swami puts it in his mouth and he chews it. Suddenly, Swami vomits it out. They go, oh, is it because this man chewed it? Is it juta? Is it echal? And Swami spits it out. They see navaratnas, they see gems in it. And Swami says, if you can do this too, you can eat the pan from my box. At no time can we forget. He wants us to be his friend, but at no time can we forget he's God. Right? In Tamil we say, Vaya Bhakti. It's not a bad thing. A lot of people say, no, you should never fear God. And I must tell you, before I became a student, before I had the first few darshans of Swami in my middle school age, I grew up, I told you my grandparents were very conservative. There was this sense in the community there about, you have to be God-fearing. God-fearing. It was not about love for God. They would actually say, Murugan Vela vachi kanna kuthiruvan. If you do something wrong, Murugan will come with a spear and pierce your eyes. They would scare the babies like that. Eat your food or Muruga, Shiva will come with this trishul. Only we contort the stories like that. But that's not the Lord. But that little bit of fear mixed with love is important. Swami said love and love. Balance of that is equally important. At no point can we forget this is the Lord who created the universes. Right? When Krishna opened his mouth, the mother could see the entire universe. And quickly she went back into the Maya of, my son, what are you going to do? Krishna lifted the Govardhana and everybody was happy. It seems Yashoda was worried, how is he going to put it down? The Lord who picked it up doesn't know how to put it down. We get into this Maya, this delusion. And Arjuna, for Sakhya Bhakti, an example that Swami gives is Arjuna. So he treated Swami as his Sakha, as his best friend. You all know in the Mahabharata war, Krishna was the charioteer. And charioteer is just a dignified chauffeur, right? He's driving the chariot for Arjuna. And did you know that because they didn't have remotes and all of that, did you know how he had to signal to the charioteer on turn left, turn right, go fast? His foot would be near the ears. To go right, he would press on the right ear. To go left ear, go faster forward, both ears. Imagine at the end of each day how Krishna's ears would have been. Krishna was sitting there cleaning the horses and tending to their wounds, giving them a bath. He played that role to perfection. But coming back to the story, Krishna is driving the chariot, and one evening, when a lot of arrows were aimed at them in the chariot, Krishna comes back and he says, Krishna says, Arjuna, please get down from the chariot. Now Arjuna, his ego is hurt. Whatever is said and done, you're playing the role of a charioteer. Play it to perfection, Krishna. You should get down first. And Krishna insists, no, you get down. They have a little tug of war. Krishna stays in the car, in his seat, and Arjuna gets down. The moment Krishna gets down, the chariot goes up in flames. It was why? Because Krishna was in the chariot, he protected. All these arrows that were flying, the effect, the power, the thing had to blow up into flames, and Krishna was protecting Arjuna from that. And Arjuna was humbled after this incident. For a moment, even Arjuna forgot, this is my friend. He's helping me out. You can never forget, he's still gone. With friends, sometimes we make friends and we go, I'll help you out, you help me out. Or, hey, I invited this person, repeatedly I'm reaching out to this person. I seem to be the one always making the calls. She's never reaching out to me. We get into all of this with friends, right? Doesn't this happen? And then there's a fallout, then you go through this period of all of that, ugly stuff that happens. But with a good friendship, it shouldn't be a give and take barter system. Then it becomes like a business transaction, right? Go to the temple, drop a donation, and then pray, Swami, I'm applying for this job, help me get this, and I will break 100 coconuts. And Swami jokes, you go to Tirupati, you offer your hair, which is of no use to the Lord Balaji, and you expect, crores and crores in return on your business. What is the Lord going to do with your hair, and why should he give you crores and crores for you offering him his hair? The beauty with having God as your best friend is, he can be your best friend and my best friend all at the same time. A lot of us have children. If you ask them who are your best friends, they say, it's very hard for me to choose between A and B. But it's always between the top 2 or 3. But Swami can be everybody's best friend. Just because I'm sharing these stories, wow, she's had these experiences with Swami, I will never get this. No, he can still give you these experiences with his ever-presence. He can still give you those experiences.